Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today, got a gem of a show. Top 10 best places to be post-breakup. Top 10 best places to be emotionally post-breakup is the title. I think it's going to be a little broader brush than that. But this is an exceptional topic to go over, whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship right now, because this is something you should strive for. There's a lot of general terms out there that we come back to, like be on your purpose, get in shape, and it seems quite obvious, right? But what happens is those things get magnified when you're in a breakup and you're at ground zero in your life and you're looking in the mirror and you're wondering, this person loved me so much. This person was there for me thick and thin, and then now they're gone. Or now they don't love me, or now I'm not enough was one of the worst ones. And crisis is an opportunity. Breakups are an opportunity. And when you're at that point, you start to take inventory of your life and where you're at and who you're with and who's there for you. Things get real. Because being in a good relationship, solid relationship, and I'll add, when I do breakup coaching, when I talk to people in a breakup, one of the first things we need to identify, was this a good relationship? There's some people out there that think that they had a great relationship because they had a relationship, they had some intimacy, I don't know, they had a few good moments. But when we start unpacking the thing, I'm like, this is not a good relationship. And it's a lot deeper than, oh, this was toxic. It was a toxic relationship. It's such a broad term. Let's get into the details. What happened? What's your story? Right? People do this I can tell this is a toxic. It's such a big word to use, right? What happened? Give me some examples of the toxicity. Right? You can go online. Oh, are you in a toxic relationship? What the fuck happened? What happened? What did she do? What did you do? Let's unpack this thing for 2 hours. Let's get into it. Let's get into the details. Because you can tell your friends, family, and colleagues all about the broad parts of it. Oh, she was bad. She was a jerk. She was this. He was that. He was an asshole. He was this. He was this. What happened? And when you write it out, you can't run from your words. Top 10 best places to be emotionally post-breakup. Jesse, how you doing today? Always a pleasure. Now, what's interesting about this, I'm also going to unpack, I have a client that I've been working with for years off and on, and it's kind of funny because you're like, off and on for years? Haven't you helped him yet? Came to me originally about 2.5 years ago for a breakup. Recovered pretty well from that. 2.5 years later, he's in another breakup. Not his fault completely, just, living life, dealing with it. Totally different animal in this case. And he asked me a really interesting question. And I'm going to unpack that today also. And the question was, because I often consult you as a coach, as a second voice for my problems in relationships, most men would deal with these things alone and arguably manage the situations better. What's special about me that requires me to have a second opinion? Do you have any views? This is a great question. It's a really good question. And I'm going to get to that question at the end of the top 10 best places to be emotionally, because actually we can get into it right now. First of all, getting a second voice. So let me just repeat the question. The reason why I wanted to do it later is have a few more live viewers on, but that's okay. Because I often consult you as a second voice for my problems in relationships. Most men will deal with these things alone and arguably manage the situations better. That's where the question's wrong. Most men, that's a generalization. And it's just not true. I mean, I don't know how many millions or billions of men are in the world, but there's quite a few out there that don't deal with these things alone. They don't necessarily go to a breakup coach that they met on YouTube or a relationship coach, but they probably go to a friend, family, or colleague for a second opinion. And here's the thing. I would venture to say there's a lot of people out there going for third, fourth, and fifth opinions. And that's one of the biggest problems. And I'll just weave this into the 10 best places to be emotionally. If you have a confidant, a coach, a family member that you respect and admire for who they are, and let me add, who they are in relationships, right? So if you have someone like that, lean on them, get their opinion, right? And if it resonates with you and it feels right, stick with that person. Don't go to 5, 6, 7 people, because it's going to throw you for a twist. It's going to put you in a situation where you don't know what's right, what's wrong. And what you'll do is you'll manipulate the answers you get from the 5, 6, 7 different people to fit whatever you want to believe, right? So this individual that I've been coaching for a while, for the last 2.5, 3 years, he doesn't always like what I say. It doesn't always fit his narrative. It doesn't always fit what he wants. But guess what? He respects it. He knows where it's coming from. And by the way, he knows it's probably what he needs to hear, because I'm objective. I know where he's coming from. And it counts. He writes on, what's special about me that requires me to have a second opinion? Do you have any views? I would say it's not special in any way. A lot of people go for second opinions on everything from getting their car fixed to a doctor's second opinion. So why not get a second opinion on what you're doing in your relationship, right? Why wouldn't you? This is something new in the world. This is something before where people just don't like to share their personal details about relationships because it's a bit vulnerable. There might be something embarrassing about it. You might have cried. You might have seen weak and needy. There's all kinds of things like that, right? That's why you go to someone you trust. And I'd add, if you go to someone that's friends with your ex or your partner, don't be surprised when it gets back to your partner. And I warned this particular guy about that, and it happened to him. You have a mutual friend. It's her best friend. I'll give you an example. Your girlfriend or ex or recent ex has a best friend that you're good friends with, and she really likes you. She really likes you, right? And you talk to her, and you're talking to her on the side, and you're thinking, well, I talked to her. She's going to tell her friend everything in her own words. I'd say that's 80 to 90% of the time, especially if she's a better friend to that friend than you. And by the way, some people like being the middle person. They enjoy the drama from afar. It's an aerial view for them, and they don't even know they're doing it. Go to someone that's 100% on your side. That doesn't mean that they're gonna tell you what you want to hear, but they're not gonna be a double agent. That's the worst case scenario. Okay? And it's interesting because this guy was recently asking me in a coaching. He said, hey man, wouldn't it be interesting now that you've been coaching me for a little bit, and you know my ex and you know my relationship, because before they've broken up to make up to break up to make up to break up. He goes, wouldn't it be interesting if you could talk to her now, and you could maybe coach her? And I said, absolutely not. He started laughing. He's like, why? I was like, I wouldn't want to talk to her. I said, I've been coaching you for 2 years. Now, when I say I've been coaching for 2 years, it's not once a week. This isn't psychoanalyst where I'm like, every week, come back to me, give me $125 an hour, and let me leave you on a, your hour's up, but I'll see you next week. Let me schedule you in. Hopefully insurance covers it. It's not like that. It's more like every 3 to 6 months, 8 months, you hit me up when stuff hits the fan. Like, hey, I need to talk to you. Right? But if I've been there for you, we've done a few coaching sessions, I've learned what your trials and tribulations are, and part of my coaching session is it's not going to just be about the breakup. We're going to talk about some other things. I need to learn who you are as a person and what makes you tick, what's hurt you in the past, right? And so just like a real coach of a basketball team or a real coach of a sports team gets close to their players and cares about them like family, I'm the same way. And so when he told me, wouldn't it be great if you could talk to her? No. Because now that I've been your coach for a while, I am biased. If she came on, I wouldn't be able to be objective. If she started complaining about you or started, saying ill things towards you, I'd be on your side. That's just how I ride as a coach. I couldn't be like, hold on a sec, listen to what. No. Now, would it be interesting to hear her point of view, where she's coming from? Sure, I can ride with that. But I'm just telling you right now, I can be objective and honest and upfront with you, but if you bring her into the picture and we start talking and she starts, pleading her case and whatnot, and saying ill things about you, it won't work. And I know it won't work because I've said this before. I've had family members come to me and I'm immediately biased. I immediately feel my feelings differently for a family member that's close to me talking about a breakup that makes it so I'm less objective. All right, let's get into top 10 best places to be emotionally post-breakup. I got these numbered. And please, if you're on the show right now, we got 5 on deck, 2 likes. Petty Betty, it's always a pleasure. Brandon Skinner, Chi-Town's finest. Bulls. Please chime in if you find something I missed or you want to talk about something else. Questions are always welcome. No One. What a great name to call yourself. No One. Wow. It's nice that there's only 3 people on here, which means a lot of people are doing good in their relationships. Or I'm just not very good with dealing with the algorithm. I just had a past client, or maybe a current client, because he'll probably be back. David Jeffers, been looking for you on a milk carton, my friend. How you doing? Right? I believe you're out in NY, right? How's the teaching Spanish, if I'm correct? Getting back to, I was just talking to this client. He used to work at YouTube, actually. So we just did a session, and it went really well. And just like some people email me sometimes, they ask me some questions. I say, hey, look, I give you your money back if you don't find it good. And if you want to do a hypnotherapy session, I've become really good at that. And I think it's going to be a game changer for you. So we did the hypno session. We did about 2.5 hours of coaching. He was like, wow, that was on point. So he just sent me an email telling me all the things I need to do to make my YouTube channel stronger. And it has nothing to do with my content. It has everything to do with, thumbnails, protocols, titles. I know this. So back to you, No One. There's a lot of people with breakups. The big problem is Coach Mac is very good at coaching. Yeah, I did go third person there. But is still developing skills on the algorithms and, thumbnails and keywords. And I'll just say it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've got 7 on deck. I've been watching YouTube recently. There's never been a time where you need to get a little bit more salacious. There's never been a time more where your thumbnail needs to stand out. Your thumbnail needs to say, hey, this is crazy, right? This is so extreme. And it just feels like, tell me I'm wrong on this, Skinner will have an opinion on this, everyone's just newsjacking. Everyone's just taking a news story. I mean, everyone newsjacks now. Like they'll take a story and it gets spun about 1,000 times by 1,000 different personalities. And my question always becomes, what are you doing to make the world a better place, my friend? Right? Do you see what's happening here? Do you see what's happening in Afghanistan right now? What are you doing? Well, did you see what happened? You're a spectator. You're a spectator in the upper deck, yelling from the crowd, going, look at this, look at that, look at this. What are you doing? What are you doing in your life to make a contribution or to do good things? It's a good question. Think about it. Think about it hard. Right? Serious. There's a lot of people sitting in the cheap seats right now. A lot of them. A lot of them. A lot of them. Oh, did you see this? Oh, did you see that? Hey, let's talk about this. Hey, let's talk about that. What are you doing? And the crazy thing is, some of the people that are spectators in the cheap seats, they got a big voice. They got the ability to turn the needle. They got the ability to actually do something. But they'd prefer to sit in the cheap seat, spectate, orate, right? Help some individuals. Drop some dominoes in the world. Seriously. Right? Help some individual people rather than generalize and point fingers at people that are obviously doing crappy jobs in the world or not good at what they do. Right? Take an attempt at that. Okay, just like this client I had took some time to send me a thorough email on how my YouTube channel could be better. He's like, he's not going around going, oh, all these people on YouTube sucked. No, Mac, this is what I'd like you to do. I think it would really work for you and you get more subscribers and I think you can make this amount of money and I think you really do help people. That's why I'm helping you. It's reciprocal. It's getting old, man. The amount of that, like I said, just the amount of people out there that are an expert critic, right? What do you do to make the world a better place? Ask that, ask that to people when they just gripe all the time. All right, number 1, 10 best places to be emotionally. Living in an environment you love. Now think about that for a minute. How many times have you lived in an environment you don't love? And I would say environment-wise, let's cut that up in a few different slices. City, neighborhood are two different things probably. Let's say you live in a city and you don't like your neighborhood though, for a variety of reasons. You live by the train station, it's extremely loud, something like that. These are things you just deal with over time, but actually they affect your emotional state. Everything's cumulative. Living in an environment you love. I often say my motto is live where people go on vacation. I've done it multiple times in my life, and people actually go, how do you live here, man? Like, how'd you work this out? Live in an environment you love, and I would slice that, like I said, neighborhood, city, and maybe you might even want to add, to that subculture of the city or place. Number 2, working at a job you love. Notice I didn't say like. Now, I've always said in terms of love, romantic love, everyone has their own definition. Correct or not correct? And so when people say they don't understand love, they fell out of love, well, what's their definition of love? Good question. I bet it's not the same exact thing. You're not getting love, the definition of love from the dictionary, are you? I don't think so. Well, love means this. Well, love means that. Love is learned. Love is learned? Sure. Who's the first people to teach you love? Look at the parents. Look at the family. Look at who raised them. and you'll see where they get their values on love. Working at a job you love. Now when you actually use the word, I love my job, isn't it really different than saying I like my job? Yeah, I like my job. Or it pays the bills. Or how about this one? As long as I make my money. As long as I make my money. This is a big statement. Well, as long as you're making money, right? You spend a lot of time at your job. Career, business, whatever. Entrepreneur is a big word now. Whatever. I don't care if you work at a grocery store. You could love it. I don't care if you work at think about when you were a kid, if you had a lemonade stand. I don't even know if kids do that anymore. Right? You could love it. One of my favorite jobs of all time when I was a kid, paperboy. Loved it. Never complained about it. Never said, if someone said, I loved that job. I had it for like 2-3 years. It took me about 2 hours in the afternoon. I got to ride my bike. I got to see the people in the neighborhood. Outstanding. Outstanding. Number 3, being in the best shape of your life or just proud of the way you look. Notice how I split that into 2 different things. And let me add this one. You like to take your shirt off. You're like, no problem. Right? And that doesn't mean you're, Arnold Schwarzenegger. 10 best places to be post-breakup emotionally. Notice I didn't say in great shape. No, be in the best shape of your life, sure. Or just proud of the way you look. You just like the way you look. You don't have a big issue. Number 4, having good relationships with your family and friends. And let me just throw this one in, camaraderie. Camaraderie with your friends and family. It's a big difference between just saying, I got great family members and friends, but you don't really get any camaraderie with them. You don't have a poker night. You don't go play hoops at the park with them. You don't have dinner night. Different. And when you break up and you haven't cultivated you haven't cultivated camaraderie with your friends and family for a couple years because, you know what? You've been in a serious relationship that took a lot of your time. And you didn't think that cultivating family and friend relationships with camaraderie was a big deal. That's why we have Thanksgiving and Christmas and different holidays in different places in the world. It's camaraderie, right? So it's a way to get together. Now, I think this is one of the biggest ones that's getting lost. And I would include myself in this. I'm going to make much more of an effort this next year at it. And you definitely lose it when you get a significant other, you get some good intimacy, and you just lean on that person, and it's enough. But I'll tell you what, when you break up, if you don't have this as a sideline, feels empty. It feels much more lonely. People I talk to post-breakup, they have some camaraderie. They're on a club team for sports. There's a client I have that plays on 2 soccer teams in his spare time. It's going to help you. Okay? Number 5, you're clear on why you broke up. You don't have to be happy about it. Notice I didn't say, you're okay with it. You forgive them. No. How about just being crystal clear on what happened and why? And that's what I help you with in the live coaching session. And you understand the reasons. You don't like them. You're sentimental. You feel like, oh my God, the big one is, I wasted 2 years. We'll never be the same. Yeah, probably not. I'll never meet someone like that again. Yeah, there's only one human of one human. We're individually numbered. Right? We're limited edition. There's only one of me. There's only one of David. There's only one of Petty Betty. There's only one of Jesse out there. And even if you have an identical twin, they're still a little bit different, right? Just a little bit. You're not going to share a girlfriend, are you? No. And so if you can just get clear on what happened and why, that's going to help you post-breakup big time. And it's not going to help you initially. It's not going to help you like right away. It's not like you're going, oh yeah, now I know. No, but over time you can lean on that and go, you know what? I know what happened. I know why. And then you can go to work if it's individually based and you take some accountability, or if it is the other person's just not going to change and they have some bad habits that you can't overcome. Get back to that. You've given up. This is a big one. I'm sorry. I'm gonna rewind. You've taken recent inventory of your life as an individual. You have new goals and are refocused on old goals. Let me say that one more time. You've taken recent inventory of your life as an individual. You have new goals or are focused on old goals. This happened to me post breakup 10, 11 years ago. I thought to myself, okay, ground zero. Okay, what do I really want? Okay, I really want to be a teacher. Someone's like, that's what your goal was? Yep, that's what it was. All the way in my early to mid 20s. And I had put it to the side. I refocused. On that. I kept putting it on the sidelines. Wasn't the girlfriend's fault. But then when I'm sitting in my sorrow and I'm sitting in my loneliness per se, or worry, what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do with yourself? Now, when you pick goals or focus or aims, make sure it's stuff you really want, not something that was just advertised on a YouTube channel or online about you getting some fancy car. Make sure it's something that's deep down in the pit of your soul that you really want to do. Make sure something in your goal has something where you help other people or make a contribution. Right? Make sure that deep down inside, that's actually what I really want. Even though when I tell my friends, they laugh at me. Right? Number 7. This is a big one. 5 on deck, 3 likes. You've given up the news. Now someone's like, what? What do you mean? Stay with me. You've given up the news. The news is highly poisonous to your mind right now, especially when you're sensitive. Especially post-breakup when you're hurting already and you're going to cling to any negativity and go, yeah, see, everything's going to hell in a handbasket now. Oh, goodness. Stay away from the news. And I remember a client a long time ago because I've said this before and I've had top 10 similar to this before, so this might be redundant for some people. But I remember he came and had a live coaching session. We're on FaceTime. We're talking. He goes, you know which one that was really big for me? He goes, I was watching the news every day. He goes, I gave up the news for 2 weeks and I just felt better. Man. Choose content and books that support your goals. Sounds simple, right? Choose content and books that support your goals. At this point in my life, once in a while I do watch the news. Right? I'd say not very often. But here's the thing. Spare time, I watch a lot of stuff on psychology, relationships, recently hypnotherapy, things I'm interested that weave into what I want to do long term. And the great thing is now we have access to all that stuff, right? It's great. Number 8. You've done some research on attraction, relationships, and breakups. This is your time to go, oh shit, I'm lost. I don't know anything about attraction. Well, why did this really happen? Do some research on it. Because it'll serve you later on in your next relationship. There's plenty of it out there. And it'll resonate more than ever before. Someone's in a great relationship, someone's in love, everything's going right. They don't research this stuff. Right? They don't research this stuff. They're like, oh, my relationship will never end. I'm good at relationships. La, 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 la. And then when they break up, they go, oh my goodness, now I know everything I did wrong or everything they did wrong. And then you're ready for the next one. You're equipped. Number 9, you've created fresh starts in other parts of your life. This is a big one. Post-breakup, write this down. You've created fresh starts in other parts of your life. Now, how do you do that? What's a fresh start? This is when people generally, oh, just have some fresh starts. What's an example? Get a dog. Get a cat. Okay. It'll occupy your time. You'll feel useful. Right? I can't because my apartment doesn't allow one. Okay, fine. Get a different pet. Start a gym routine. Notice I didn't say go to the gym. Specifically, start a gym routine. Get a personal trainer if possible. Move to a new house. Get a new job. Oh, I can't get a new job because I need this job. Okay, fresh start somewhere. Fresh starts can be jobs, places you live, pets, roommates. Have you ever thought about that? When you really want to make a change in your life, how about a fresh start? New school you go to if you're in university. Number 10, you got a coach that specializes in breakups, one that you trust and respect. I'd encourage you to try a couple if the first one you don't like. Number 11, your bonus, get your finances in order. Seems obvious, right? Because I'll tell you, this is the one that people just cling to. They cling to it. And it spirals them down. Well, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. Well, I don't have this. Okay, so make that your focus. Make that your focus. If you focus on the fact that you don't have money, there's no way. And I know people like this. Oh, I can't pay for this. Or I can't do that. How can you make money? What kind of skills do you have? What do you want to work on? What's available to you? Get resourceful. Right? I've known someone recently that was flat broke. It's COVID. I understand. I completely understand. They've been getting help. They've been getting loans from multiple people. And they're at a point where it's really tough. And my heart goes out to them. My heart really goes out to them. This is not one of those things where I'm like, oh, just get it together, man. Pick yourself up off the mat. No. They have legitimate reasons. It's COVID right now. Jobs are scarce in the particular area they're looking for. There's all kinds of reasons they can cling to. And I said, look, I think you're going to have to sell your car. What? I've had my car for 8 years and I love my car. I get it. Right? But if you don't have any money and all you keep doing is have to borrow money, all it creates is you depending on other people and getting pity and feeling sorry for yourself. If you sell your car, maybe it'll just give you some breathing room for a month, 2 months, so that when you're looking for a job, you're not extremely desperate. So that for the next 6-7 weeks, you can be like, all right, I'm not scraping and scratching. Because when you go around asking for people for money or things like that, there's a time and a place for it, right? But if you just accept it, as like, oh, this is the only option, sometimes you're not getting resourceful. You're not getting creative. Your mind will find a way. But if you have it in your head that you can't do something, you're done. You're done. So when you get your finances in order, sometimes you got to get creative. And sometimes you got to take 2 steps back. But a lot of times people go, oh, I wouldn't want to sell that gold chain I have. Well, maybe you have to. Because you need to get to a point where you're back. And I've had multiple clients that said they were homeless before. And you think, how did you get out of that, man? And they got a house and they go, I don't know, I was on the streets for a year, but I got myself out. And one guy is an incredible story. Incredible story, right? He's on the streets for 2 years in Austria. He's an Australian guy, right? Incredible story. I said, you were on the streets for 2 years? He goes, yeah, I was homeless for 2.5 years. I said, wow. He goes, I refused to call my dad for help that lived in Australia because I didn't want to. And he goes, he could have. I said, well, I mean, what happened? He said he was living, I think, in the back of a gymnasium in Austria. I'm not making this up. He became a massage therapist. He's a male. He's a man. Right? And he now is one of the top massage therapists, and he actually was a massage therapist for a group of ballet dancers, I think, in Austria or some, because this was a few years ago that I had a coaching session. It was just an incredible story, right? Had 3 kids, obviously was in the middle of a divorce and in a tough time. Great personality, right? It absolutely seasoned him that he did those 2 years. Now, am I saying you need to be homeless for 2 years? Hell no. But guess what? There's a way out. And his was forced into it because he said he had a really bad injury, a back injury, and it put him out of commission for a while. But he crawled out of it, and so many people do. And sometimes I think, as long as you keep getting drip fed, kind of like when you get an IV and you're drip fed and someone drip feeds, oh, let me just get a couple bucks. Oh, let me borrow this. Oh, let me borrow this. When are you going to get to the point where you're like, let me figure this the fuck out? I got options here. I got skills. I can do things. There's things I can do. Like The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, that's based on a true story. Whether everything is true. Or not. The whole thing is the guy just gets resourceful. And part of you getting resourceful is you saying, I have to find a way. Right? And so if your finances aren't in order and you're post-breakup, listen, if you're spun and you don't have, unfortunately in the world now, money is what it is to, okay, for example, caveman days, which I didn't live in, if you were a bad hunter, right? Or you weren't good at finding food, you're done. If you currently in the 21st century, if you can't find ways to make money, and I'm not talking about being extravagant or rich, right? Yeah, you can find ways to borrow and stuff like that. But the real thing is it gets to a point where you get tired of doing it and makes you feel bad about yourself. So let me just review these real quick. Top 10 best places to be post-breakup, emotionally, whatever. Number 1, and please, in the comments, I'll get to them in a minute if you have a question. Thanks for chiming in here. Trace McGace, is that a real name? Johanna, good to see you. Petty Betty and Sabina. I'll get to your thoughts and points in a moment, so throw them on there. I'll be scrolling back through. So real quick to review. Number 1, living in an environment you love. Notice I didn't say an environment you like or one that you're content with or this is where I grew up. I love living here. I can proudly say where I live in Phuket, Thailand right now, I love living on a tropical island where there's hiking trails. The beach is 5 minutes from my house. It never snows, right? I'm not trying to rub that in. And it wasn't one of those things where people go, how'd you end up there? Oh, because I thought to myself, post-breakup, what do I really want? I'm at ground zero right now. Let's shoot for the stars, Mac. And I went, tropical beach. Oh. Great weather. That's where I want to live. Did I make it happen in a day? Was there a genie in a bottle? No. 11 years later, it's where I live. And I love living here. And it helps your mindset. It helps your ability to be content and at peace and, dare I say, happy. I go back home sometimes, I'm like, wow, you guys live here? The traffic, the cement, live where you love to live. Consider the neighborhood, consider the city, and consider the subcultures of what's there. I've talked about subcultures before. I'm not talking about race. Working at a job you love. Notice I didn't say like. And people will tell me this. I love my job. Okay, well, that's checked off. I love my job. Usually you love your job because you're proud and privileged to do it and there's some good camaraderie. Number 3, being in the best shape of your life or just proud of the way you look. Love your curves, girl. Right? Go ahead. Be happy with the way you look. I don't have a problem with it. You know, how many times have you met someone that's dating someone, you're like, wow, she's not very cute. Maybe you think your friend's boyfriend is just flat ugly. You ain't with him. Looks are subjective. So if you're proud of the way you look, go for you. If you're not, go to work on it. I wouldn't say plastic surgery is the answer. And like I said, you like to take your shirt off. Number 4, having a good relationship with your family and friends. And I'm adding to that camaraderie. Deputy 547, always a pleasure. Good to see you. I know you got some camaraderie with your family and friends. And it's important. It's one thing to have a, you know, I love my mom, or I love this. And that, are you getting that camaraderie in? Are you getting those dinners in? Are you getting that time where you hang out and joke around? It's important. It's important because if you're in a breakup and you're alone and you know, oh, I haven't talked to her, and it happens all the time, man, I haven't talked to my friend in a year. You call up your friend. I've had it happen to me. Out of nowhere, they call you up. They're like, hey man, what's up? What have you been up to? How you been? And they're like, well, I haven't talked to you for 2 or 3 months, and you know, maybe 3 times in a year. And no big deal. No big deal. But then it comes out like, oh, I just broke up with my girlfriend. Can we hang out? It's like, okay, yeah, sure. Cultivate your friends and family relationships while you're in a relationship, and then when you break up, it'll be a softer landing. Nice. I like that. Deputy 547's, oh, dude, it was a long journey from our first session, but damn, I am here, and the water is warm. Well, good for you, man. I remember. That's when I get to the point, Deputy 547. I think you'll agree, because if you want to check out Deputy 547, he has pretty big following on Instagram. I think you're still on TikTok, and he does coaching as well, not just breakup or relationship coaching, but he's done a lot of things. Very cool dude. Good, just a good person. And you were a good person when we first did. This is what's interesting when you do breakup coaching. You could be a mess. You could be needy. You could be weak. You can be frustrated, but you can still be a good person, right? You could still be a good person behind all that. Now, here's the crazy part. Deputy 547, I think you're going to agree with me on this. We just had a show, I don't know how long ago it was, talking about luck, free will, and karma, and these kinds of things. And I said, I don't believe in luck that much, but if you do believe in luck, you're not going to be able to judge it till you're on your deathbed. And guess what? Guess what? Deputy 547, correct me if I'm wrong. That breakup that put your heart out on a clothesline in a tornado, right, was just what the doctor ordered for Mr. Deputy 547. And at the time, you'd be like, no. All I need is this woman back. How much did you grow from it, dude? Would you take that back? That whole experience? It changed you. It changed you. It's like having a bad breakup. You don't connect the dots till later on, but then you go, that domino had to fall. That domino had to fall, because it is a domino, right? We're just in these series of moments and events. One leads to the next, one leads to the next. That's why when people go, I just want to be happy. Well, good luck being happy forever, right? There's a domino, right? And without the sour, you cannot taste the sweet, my friend. Right? There's no way of really knowing pure happiness unless you've been down and out. There's just no way. And you've met people out there that have everything going for them, have everything handed to them on a platter, and they find ways to complain. Because the bar for their happiness is so damn high. It's almost like life has to be perfect. And you're around people like this, and you're like, get away from me. You're sick. Right? You complain, you whine about everything. You're not nice to people. right? You're snobby, you're stuck up. These are the worst kind of people to be around. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because they haven't been through anything, right? If you ask them their hardest thing, they're going to go, oh my God, last week, okay, I was in traffic for 2 hours and this guy, cut in front of me on the road. And then, oh my God, I almost didn't make my nail appointment, right? And then out of nowhere, this guy rolled down his window and flipped me the bird. It's like, really? That's that bad in your life, right? It's just that, people don't get it. And that's why these moments, it's actually, call it meant to be, call it karma, whatever. It has to happen to mold you, to shape you. Right? It has to mold you, to shape you. And it's the domino that had to fall. Absolutely. And it's worked for you, Deputy 547, right? And you'll probably, me, yourself, other people out there, you still got a long ways to go where you're like, damn, that was unlucky. Nope. Had to happen. Number 5, you're clear on why you broke up. You don't have to be happy about it, but you understand the reasons. This is a big one. Number 6, you've taken recent inventory of your life as an individual. You have new goals or are refocused on old goals. Big one. Number 7, you've given up the news and choose content and books that support your goals. This might be one for you, 547, in the sense that, did you change, becoming a coach post-breakup, did you change your content and the things that you read afterwards? Number 9, you've created fresh starts in other parts of your life. You got a dog, you started a gym routine, you moved to a new house. Start something new. The breakup's new. The breakup's brand new. And I know when I had that bad breakup 11 years ago or 12 years ago, I don't know what it is now. I don't have a date on it. But it's such a deep wound, but it kind of makes you go, I got to make some changes. But at the same time, everything has changed because that person was such a big part of your life. You don't realize how much you're negotiating. You don't realize when you're in a relationship how much of your life is being negotiated with that other person. And someone might go, oh, I do what I want. If you're in a serious long-term relationship and it's, let's just even say, dare I say, good. Mine was pretty good. I didn't sacrifice a lot. I wouldn't say oh, I wasn't able to do what I want. Some people say, I did everything I wanted. You still had to sacrifice some things. There's still some trade-offs along the way, somewhere, somehow. Some people, it's way more than others. And some people don't realize how much it was until the breakup. But you get alone, you're an individual, you can go, I can do whatever I want now. Someone might say, no, Mac, you can't do whatever you want now because you don't have enough money. Well, you can make more money and you probably have more creative ways to do it, and you can move to an area that maybe your ex didn't want to move to. Or you can do a job or a career and not ask your ex, what do you think? And they go, ew, I don't think that's a very good job. Or would you ever do that? You can go, I'll do whatever I want now. There's power. There's freedom in that. And when you embrace it, it feels really nice. Right? Number 10, you got a coach that specializes in breakup, ones that you trust and respect. I'd encourage you to try a couple if the first one you don't like. If you go to someone, you don't like them, get another one. I've talked to people, oh, I hate therapists. Oh, coaches are all this. Go to a different one. Get a second opinion. Get someone because just because someone wears the same uniform, has a PhD, or has the same title. I know this from being a teacher for years. Think about this. Let me reframe this because everyone's been in school, right? Everyone hasn't gone to university, right? Everyone doesn't have maybe an extended education, but I would say most people have gone. Most people have gone to school, right? And tell me this. Had some teachers you liked, had some teachers you didn't like, had some teachers that were okay, had some teachers that were easy, had some teachers that were difficult. And probably, I'm just taking inventory right now. I went to elementary, middle school, and high school. I'll leave out college for now, and I'll come back to that in a minute. I don't know. Let me just go through elementary school. Was there one teacher I liked more than the others? Yep. Right off the bat, Mrs. Mang. Italian-American woman, boisterous, outgoing. I love that class. That was probably third grade. She was great. And she yelled at me sometimes. She called me out, but I liked her. She was fun. I remember we'd go play kickball. And you remember kickball with the little red bouncy ball, and it's like baseball? No rules. I thought that was so cool. And every once in a while, she'd just go, let's go play. Just in the middle of class. She had a different connection. So what's my point? You go to coaches, you go to therapists, just like teachers. If you had 10 of them, you're going to find one and you go, that one I really connected with. Now, did everyone like Miss Meg? I don't know. Probably not. Middle school, let me think for a minute. Middle school, I had a coach. I had a basketball coach. He was the PE teacher. That guy wasn't friendly, but damn, did he put in work for us it's amazing with no extra pay or anything like that. For middle school, when I look back, we were 10, 11, 12 years old, and he was taking us to road games. We were in multiple tournaments. I mean, he treated it like we were in college, and he put in all this extra time, and it was probably one of the best times of my life. Mr. Moss. Thank you, Mr. Moss. I mean, I look back at that, and I go, damn. Now, you ask me about the other teachers I had in middle school. Can't really think of another one that touched my life like that. But were there some ones? I remember there was one I really didn't like that I always got in trouble for talking. So I always had detention. Not for fights, for talking or interrupting the teacher, trying to take over class. Surprise, surprise. Right? And looking back, it was fair enough because I used to always interrupt class and I used to make fun and joke around. Right? High school. Let me think about this for a minute. One teacher. I don't know. I guess freshman year I had a history teacher that I liked the subject, but there wasn't a teacher I thought that really turned things around for me I really appreciated. I have trouble with that one. College, actually junior college, had an anthropology teacher that was just really cool and was a really good lecturer, Mr. Earnhardt, and everyone liked his class. Stanford grad, it was great. So what's my point with that? They're all teachers. They all had the same credentials in a lot of ways, right? And when you're in class, you don't look at their credentials. And by the way, when you look at PhDs, master's degrees, and I've worked with people like this, you know what I always think when someone slams the PhD or the master's degree down and they're like, well, I'm a PhD, well, I'm a master's, da-da-da-da-da. Right? Let me see your grades. Let me talk to your teachers and ask what you wrote. Let me see your papers that you wrote. No one ever asked that. We don't ever get to see the body of work. At the end of the day, I've talked to some people that have PhDs too. I've talked to people with master's degrees, and they go, I learn a lot of my craft doing it. Now, getting a PhD or a master's degree, my hat's off to you. It's a high achievement. Nothing but respect. But it doesn't define you. It doesn't define you in your position. And I've had that with teachers before. I've been working as a teacher before, and people go, well, I'm a PhD, I'm certified in this, this, and this. I go, well, we're teaching at the same school, and I've been here 2 years longer. But I'm certified in this, this, and this. Good for you. Right? Does it mean you're a better teacher than me because you got certified in something? Give me a break. All right? And then they'll go on to complain why the students haven't understood their lesson or this or that. Because you know what the biggest thing in being a good teacher, and I'll add it to being a coach, adapt to the students. Learn the class. As a coach, learn your client. There's no one size fits all in that. If you got someone that's following some kind of textbook and they're like, oh, yep, this is what you are. You're a classic avoidant attachment. So avoidant attachments my advice is like, look for someone that gets a little deeper than that. That builds a little bit more of a connection than just identifying some label to put you under. I'm okay if they have that label eventually, but everyone likes to, I've read about this before. This is what you are. Tony Robbins doesn't have a degree, not to my knowledge. He did work quite a bit on NLP. He did change his name. You could look it up on Wikipedia too. That's not even his real name. You want to know what really helped Tony Robbins beyond Tony Robbins? I heard in an interview, and I have a lot of respect for Tony Robbins. I used to think he was a kook. I thought a kook in Southern California means like a fake, a phony. That's what they call the surfers. The surfers that are really like the locals. They'll go, oh, this guy's a kook. And he was interviewed, and going back to the teacher thing, he was interviewed and he said that when he was in high school, he was in a public speaking class. It sounded like a public speaking class, but a class where he'd give speeches and stuff. And he said he wasn't a great student necessarily or whatnot, but he said he'd always talk out in class. I think he was fairly insecure because his mom was a single mom. Here's the thing: if you watch enough YouTube on Tony Robbins or anything, they tell the same story over and over again. Tony Robbins has a story where I believe his mom was a pill addict, and his mom would make him go get pharmaceuticals and things like that. And he claims that his mom poured dishwashing soap down his throat when he was like 12. And he always brings that up. My mom poured dishwashing soap down my throat. Okay, well, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I got one for you. I think I was swearing, which wasn't uncommon because my dad was a truck driver and Vietnam vet. So there was a lot of swearing in my house. Guess who I learned it from? And my mom made me eat soap. And it was a Twinkie bar that was a piece of soap. I remember that. I never go, oh, my mom's so horrible for it. It was a lesson. Now, going back to that, Tony Robbins goes into this story and he says that when he was in school, obviously he was talkative and outgoing and whatnot, but he claims he wasn't one of the cool kids. But the teacher held him back in this class and he goes, basically, you have a real gift, man. I mean, the way you talk and the way you hold attention in class. And he told him. And Tony Robbins references this. People don't realize turning points till later on. And they don't even realize it when they're telling the story. That was a turning point for him. Someone in school told him he was an exceptional public speaker, that someone he respected. He pulled him aside and he goes, look, you're really good at this. And you get I've never seen someone this good with public speaking. Right? I've never seen someone like this. And Tony Robbins was like, that was a big moment. And then Tony Robbins' other turning point, I think when he was 18 or 19, he went to a Jim Rohn, who's a self-improvement guru, speaker, like Tony Robbins, right? And Tony Robbins said his mom had a boyfriend that basically was going to this Jim Rohn event. And Tony Robbins was like, I want to go. And he goes, oh, well, I'm not going to pay for it. You got to pay for it yourself. So he went and he was hooked and he ended up working for Jim Rohn. So he had a mentor. But here's the thing, what people don't realize. One of the things that really elevated Tony Robbins was proximity of where you live. He's from LA. Now there's something to this. Either moving to LA or living in LA enhances your odds of either being famous or successful, 100% through the 80s, 90s, because you don't have the opportunity to have a stage in the 80s and 90s unless you got TV or movie stars around you. And so people like Tony Robbins, right? He gets a movie star or two that takes this course, which, you know, they're all over LA, or I'm sorry, that goes to him for help. It's like a rocket. It's like a rocket. As the great Tupac said, Trace, to live and die in LA. That was a big deal. George Carlin moved to LA. He tells it in his story when he's interviewed. Oh, I just moved out to LA in the 40s or the 50s. I don't know what it was. Maybe the 50s for George Carlin. George Carlin was pretty old. He's passed away. He's a legend, right? If he never, I forgot, I think he's originally from New York. But Charles Bukowski, very famous author, didn't get famous till his 50s. Guess where he's born and raised? LA. Some guy in a bar told him that we can, you know, make your books this and this. You think if he lived in Nebraska, that would happen? Right? So that's why when I talk about environments, environments are big, man. Environments are big. They and this goes into when I talk about breakups. You break up and you're like, oh, all the men suck here, all the women suck. Hey, look, if you're in a country town and there's only a population of 2,000 people, your odds of finding someone. But I'll add, meeting new people shrinks with time, right? Will we agree that there's more people in their 20s that are single than in their 40s, right? So when someone's in their 40s and they're single, and they're especially live in a place where the demographics suggest that there's a lot of married people, it's going to be a bit harder. Right? Now, let me add to that LA thing. That's changed. That's changed. And by the way, the Bay Area where I'm from, the Silicon Valley now, wasn't even the Silicon Valley when I was around, because I'm 40 years old now. Right? I grew up in the 80s. It was just San Mateo. Right? That's where you would move in the late 90s to even early 2000s. Tim Ferriss talks about that's where I'm going to make my millions. A lot of these people that, you know, Facebook and, you know, different startup companies, and I could go through Google, all these places that are in the Bay Area. People moved out there, got rich, and they had the intention before they moved, like, I'm going to make my millions and move to the Bay Area. Tim Ferriss did it. He goes, he went to Princeton. He's from New Jersey, I believe. And he goes, I drove my mom's minivan and got a job at a startup company of some sort. Or maybe it wasn't a startup, but he was like, I was going to make my millions. And he did. Because the environment in the Bay Area is such that people do startups and do these things. That's changing a bit, right? Because with the internet and everything now, we got FaceTime, Zoom, and all these other things. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that as much. But I would say I'm moving back to Cali at the end of probably in about 2 months. And I've been going back and forth on it. And I'm doing it because I want to raise the bar on a daily show. I'm probably going to get a business partner of some sort on the marketing and whatnot of what I'm doing and scale what I'm doing. And that's something I can't find as abundantly where I live. Okay, so if you think about how America was started, it's a country of immigrants, and to be fair, Native Americans who we won't go into that whole story there right now, but everyone was looking for a new start, right? Yeah, it was just going to be a couple months, but I think it's going to be longer. I got some goals in line. I got some things in place. At first, I just was going to visit some family, but I got some other things. You're moving back permanently? No, nothing's permanent, my friend. I'm one of those people. I've moved to a few different. I'm moving to Northern California, and I'm not sure how long I'll be there. I'm doing a clinical hypnotherapy course. I already do hypnotherapy now. Deputy 547's done it before with me, but I'm going to take it to the next level with that. And I think it's going to take, and I got to work with a few different people. It's going to be exciting though. At first it was really hard because I love Phuket, Thailand, where I live. I absolutely love it. You haven't been to Phuket, Thailand before? It is gorgeous, outstanding, wonderful place to live. Weather's great. It's going to be really tough at first. And I've moved a few times. And I would say moving's great for you, man. Yeah, we can definitely talk Modern Shrink. But my plan is to come back. My plan is to come back for sure. Oh, Johnny says I'm going to link up with you. Not in L.A., Northern California, above the Bay Area. Small college town called Chico. That's where I'm going to live for a bit. You're going to take a course on how to get more than 10 viewers? Good one, Linder, too. I'll take it on the chin. I'm just gonna make it my sole purpose now. I'm letting go of teaching. For the last couple of years, I've been doing coaching, and I'm still a teacher at a university. And so, you got to burn the ships to take the island. You got to go all in. And sometimes it takes a transition, and it takes a trade-off. And this is what I'm learning as a coach. You know, one of the privileges and good parts of being a coach, besides dealing with smartasses like LinderTube on live streams, which I appreciate a good smartass, by the way. I've been a recovering smartass for years. Is you have to be better. You'll find this Deputy 547, and I think that you've been coaching for a year or something like that. You have to be better. You have to start taking the advice that you give to people. Someone said, hey, Mac, what do you do when you have problems? I got to coach myself, man. But I've talked to some people before. But I'll talk to someone that's a specialist, right? I'm very good with breakups. Very good. I'm very confident when I talk to people, right? I'm very good with my hypnotherapy at this point. I've hypnotized over 100 people so far. I mean, literally put them under, right? Glowing results. So I'm going to take that to the next level. What I gotta work on, or find someone to coach me with, or find a partner, is the business side of things. I'm a teacher by trade. There's no business in teaching. So the business side of things would be, you know, how to work with the algorithm, you know, daily show, advertising, things like that. Right? I have to get someone to do that. And I'm at a point now that the last 3 years has been my training. And so I'm excited about it. But at first, I'll be honest with you, just like you out there, I'm going to tell you something. Anything that you do that involves change, you don't like it at first. You just don't like it. I've moved multiple times in my life, right? And I've lived in Thailand for 11 years. I've had a couple sabbaticals of 3 months, maybe 3 months I didn't live here. I lived in the States, and then once a year I'll go home for a month. But I haven't been home for like 2+ years. But I've moved multiple times when I lived here. And it's funny because you move to a new neighborhood or new area, and it's just uncomfortable at first sometimes. Right? And that's a big part of your breakup. It's just a comfort issue sometimes. It really is. But I've just started to embrace it. And part of the reason, whenever you move somewhere or you make a big move, you got to have an anchor reason. Okay? And so, like I said, moving is going to make you uncomfortable. So let me just go through this really quick. And when I was about 19 or 20, it might be a redundant story for some viewers, but we got 16 on deck and 5 likes. So some of you haven't heard me tell this before, but I was about, I don't know, 18 or 19, I believe 19, living at home still, full-time job. My father, God bless him, still alive, good man, 70s. charged me $275 rent for my bedroom. Not a big bedroom, not a bathroom in there. $275, and this was this is 20 years ago, right? This was actually, and I said no problem, because I didn't question. My dad's all right, but it's not like, my dad wasn't one of those where you'd be like, oh no, how about this? No, 200. That's what I'm telling you. It's like, okay, Dad, no problem. Then I started paying it. I'm like, damn, $275. I was making, I don't know, $1,600 a month, or I don't know what it was. I was working full time. At first, I'm like, yeah, fine. Didn't taste very well. I was writing a check. I remember too. I don't even know if people still write checks. And then after like 4 or 5 months, my dad was just being an asshole about little things, this, that, and the other. I thought to myself, I should move. And then I just started telling everyone, I'm going to move to San Diego. So Trace, I actually lived in San Diego. I don't know if you've been on the channel before, but I lived in San Diego for about 4 years. Oh, Johnny, my dad's 74. And that's one of the things I am going to do, folks. You guys are going to get a hell of a kick out of it. I'm going to bring him on the podcast. My dad's a character, man. Truck driver, Vietnam vet. He holds no punches, and he's hilarious. A lot of life experience there. So my dad basically, the thing I always remember, I wanted to wash my car. Trace, I lived in PB, Grand Avenue, 1647, next to the KFC, my first apartment. And I lived in Mission Beach. And Trace, is this your first time on, or you been on before? I get a lot of people from San Diego. So getting back to him, I said, hey, Dad, can you move your truck so I can wash my car? Nope. I just bought all this stuff to wash my car. Nope. He's in his recliner reading the newspaper. Nope. I'm like, what? Again, never question my dad. I just had a moment. I was just so upset. Why is this guy being such an asshole? And then it just domino affected me. Just domino affected me. And I just one day was like, all right, I had a small breakup. It wasn't like it was like a 1-year relationship. Broke up, was seeing someone else. And then I was like, I'm moving to San Diego. I'm going to transfer jobs, ... I move, I do it. I was scared, but guess what my anchor was? Got a couple friends in San Diego. We got a really good friend there. Always wanted to live by the beach. So I had my anchor there. I was able to transfer my job, and I was able to go to a junior college so I could transfer my credits. Everything lined up. I'll tell you what, the first 2 weeks, it wasn't as easy as I thought. As friendly as and outgoing as I am, I had to meet some new groups of friends. But by year 3, year 4, I was on deck. And my last year there was great. I was in Mission Beach, about a stone's throw from the beach. I had 2 of the best roommates I've ever had in my life. Great friends. It was a shitty little place, but it was, I mean, like I said, you could see the boardwalk. It was a great life experience, right? That took my dad being a jerk. My dad's so proud of that. Then I moved back. I moved to San Francisco. I went to San Francisco State, lived at my grandma's house for a little while, then went back to my hometown. I've moved a few times, right? It seasons you. It helps you. It really helps you. And I've known people that live in their family's house or that, and I don't look down on you or anything like that, but the life experience just isn't there. Moving around does something for you. Sapphire, is that where they had the basketball court, I think? I used to play hoops over there. I love PB though. Absolutely love PB. I love the environment. I love the weather. Great life experience. Deputy 547, with your following, if you ever want to come out to Phuket or Thailand, I mean, and do what you do, I'd access it. I've lived in San Diego, North Carolina, Florida. Got a lot of, it helps, right, Trace? It helps, huh? It's different. You're seasoned. And I'm one of those, I meet a new group of people, old, young, different cultures. I'm fine. I'm never uncomfortable. I guess I am uncomfortable if someone's really, someone was talking to me about this before. You know, when you really know someone within their eyes. If someone's got eyes that they almost never, they never focus, or they don't smile a whole lot. They're really intense. Those are people I usually fucking avoid. Psycho eyes, I can't do it. I don't have the camera on today, but you know what I'm talking about. And they just, and a lot of times now, people that have those kind of eyes, it's surgery based. It's Botox. Because I know people that are in their like late 40s, early 50s. And I'm like, damn, why is this person, you know, they look young. They look young. And then I'm thinking to myself, you got work done. Oh, no, I didn't get any surgery. Nah, you got some work done, dude. Well, I got some Botox done, but that's not surgery. It's like, yeah, but you can't see your wrinkles in your smile. I can't, you know what I mean? And your eyes don't show up. You know when people smile, right? It's in your eyes. A real smile is in the eyes. And if people can't even do that, it's one thing to be shy or uncomfortable. And to be honest, when I meet people like that, I like to big them up. That's part of being a teacher. I was telling that to someone recently. I like to give you a compliment or two or something like that. Right? I know that from being a teacher for years. When there's a student that's kind of shy or, not a part of the group, I always want to find a way to get them involved or feel good about themselves. That's a privilege as a teacher. You don't realize in life, and I realized the power of this because I worked at a department store for years where they just valued customer service so much. How much just being nice to people, genuinely, without getting something back. Well, I guess when I worked at the department store, you maybe it was part of your sales, but it was the culture of the department store to be utmost customer service. And Trace, you probably know the place. And I just remember feeling like that was a switch in my head. Like I like being nice to people. I like going out of my way to be kind to people. And that doesn't mean you go up to someone and say they're beautiful or gorgeous. There's so many other ways to make someone's day and just say something nice. Yeah, I did, Kyle. I'll talk about it again if you want. But you don't... I'm getting repetitive now. Just do this when you and people have complimented me on this, and I feel engage people. Yesterday I went to the dentist. I hadn't met this dentist before. What university did you go to? Oh, that's the top university in Thailand. You went to school there? Yeah. Wow, man. Oh, you were in Taiwan doing extra, like, be interested in people just a little bit. Show them that who they are and what they do is somehow impressive or cool. And you can find that, and people respond to that. No, I kind of want to bring it up again, Kyle, because I think that now we have 13 on deck. I think I can go through it. I'm going to take a short 2-minute break here. I'm going to go through that question when we get back because it's a good question, and I want to unpack it while you're on if you're up for it. Always up for it. All right, Kyle, that's enough for me. Give me about 2 minutes because I do have to take a a pee-pee. All right. Drop it. Yeah. Any questions? Please go ahead. Feel free. I will get to it. I've been kind of going on a tangent because I haven't talked in a while, and I just enjoy talking so much. Right. Thanks for the $4.99, Deputy 547. I appreciate it. That'll go towards lunch today. But as asked, this question that I talked about earlier, but let me talk about it real quick. So, I'm sure Kyle, who's on the live stream right now, doesn't mind, but he's been a client of mine for over a couple years now, and he's in a recent breakup. We won't go into the details of that right now, but he's asked the question: I often consult you as a second voice for my problems in relationships. Most men would deal with these things alone and arguably manage the situations better. What's special about me that requires me to have a second opinion? Do you have any views? So I'm going to repeat that, and then I'm going to unpack this. I often consult you as a second voice for my problems in relationships. Most men would deal with these things alone and arguably manage the situations better. That's where you're wrong. I don't think most men would deal with these things alone. However, would most men go to a coach on YouTube? I don't know what the statistics are on that. They probably would go to a friend, family, or colleague. Okay, so I think human beings overall get second opinions all the time. And I would say the minority of people don't get second opinions, and those are people that are hard-headed or stubborn. And even those people will get a second opinion, but maybe they'll go to an expert or one person. So getting a second opinion is just very human, right? The idea that most men do these things alone, I just don't agree with. And arguably manage the situations better. Arguably manage the situations better. And this is what I've learned as a coach. We somehow believe, and now I'm generalizing, a lot of us believe that everyone else is normal or everyone else does it better. That, like, the idea that I've had people say, well, I just want a normal relationship. Here's the thing, folks. Stay with me on this. And this is what I've learned as a coach, 3.5, 4 years, talking to almost, 1,000 people. I don't know how many people it's been, right? There is no normal. Things are so different in the 21st century, and human beings don't even know it. And we're going on Sigmund Freud stuff. Sigmund Freud lived in a time that doesn't even equate to what we live in now. It's not even, Sigmund Freud wouldn't even be able to imagine the way we live now with an 8-ball of Coke up his nose. He wouldn't even have been able to do that. Right? And we're like, oh, Freud says this, and we're going to follow that. It's like, I'm not saying what Freud said was wrong or right. I'm just saying, let's just think about the dynamics of society, human beings, and people right now. Stay with me on this. Okay? I like to use Native Americans as an example because there was individual tribes, and in those tribes you had a name like Cherokee, the Sioux, Apache, and each one of those had their own costumes or clothing. They had their own style of homes. They had their own style of hunting. They had their own style of war. It was very unique to those different groups of people. But guess what? They knew they were Apache. They knew they were Cherokee, right? They had customs to follow. People knew they fit in. They knew when they did wrong. And you were going to meet someone like-minded. Now, let's go into maybe like the 1940s, 1950s. I didn't live during that time, but let's just play with that for a moment. 1950s, right? People were generally more religious, didn't have access to anything near the internet, maybe a few news channels, and followed the same rules of the country or society they were in because there was less input, right? People that really were different were often left out. Now we have a society where we have so much information in so many different places. Human beings are so unique, right? They're so unique. And so when you think to yourself, like, Most men will deal with these things alone, arguably manage the situations better. Man, you have to put every person up to your situation and see how they would manage it. And I'll tell you right now, because I know your situation, bud, there's people that would handle it worse, right? You're doing the best you can right now. And the fact that you're getting advice from me, someone you respect, I'm going to speak for you because I know that you've come back to me and we've got a really good rapport. I believe you're doing the right thing. And the fact that when we do talk and you do get feedback from me, it seems to me that you go, yeah, that's right. Right? So think about it this way. You go to a dentist for your teeth. You go to a mechanic for your car. Right? We're always going to specialists for everything else. Why wouldn't you go to a specialist for your relationship or your breakup? It's a pretty big deal. So I would say to you that the men that aren't getting a second opinion, they're probably going to have more trouble. Now, I do know that there's a faction of guys out there that they can come out of a breakup and it's water on a duck's back. I'm done. I'm done. You know, I'm done. They've had enough relationships. They can cut someone off. But everyone is never showing all their cards. And that's what people don't realize. People can put on a really nice facade. Because I talk to them. People reveal their cards to me. The amount of people that are putting on a show for their friends and family or their ex, and they tell me the real story. Well, I sent her this text, but I really didn't want that. Why did you say that if you didn't want that? A lot of people playing poker out there. And right now, Kyle, your situation, there's a lot of poker being played here. And at some point you get up off the table and you go, yeah, I don't want to play anymore. Because a lot of people play it dirty. A lot of people are cheating the cards. They're not playing an honest game. And guess what? When the relationship or the breakup becomes a poker game, I'm done. Doesn't mean it hurts less. Right? Next part of the question. What's special about me that requires us to have a second opinion? Do you have any views? Because that's who you are. You're analytical. You like to dissect things. You like to figure out things or the best possible answer. And so it's not what's special about you. It's what you regard as special to you. Does that make sense? So you actually value a good second opinion. You value advice, right? There's people out there that are so stubborn or, dare I say, ignorant, which is a word I like to use because it doesn't mean you're stupid. It means you don't know what you don't know. And by the way, most of the time that reason is because you're running a program. Someone in your family, something happened in your past where you developed this complex that you're a know-it-all or that you don't need help from anyone outside of you, or a specialist would never help you, or the word coach makes you cringe. The list goes on. Right? The list goes on. You're not that person. You're a person that goes, I want to figure this out. I want to get better at this. So to me, I've just realized as a coach in the last 3.5 years, the next few years, I'm gonna get more people to help me too in the areas I'm not good at, right? Or the areas I'm perplexed or upset over. I've talked about it before. This last year, I got a personal trainer for weight training. I was never really deep into weights. I did my running, I did my hiking. I've been spotty on yoga off and on. I'm in pretty good shape. I did it for a year. I think I missed a month a couple of times, and I'm in great shape. I'm in the best shape I've ever had. It's been a great experience. It was expensive. But guess what? If I didn't get her as a coach, I wouldn't have got those results. I would have never stayed in the gym. I would have never done the programs that she supplied. You know why? She's a specialist. It's what she does. She's very good at it. There was times when we're working out where I was like, I fucking want to quit, man. And I'm like, I paid for this, and I'm not going to quit in front of my coach, right? There's something to being held accountable by someone else that you respect. And by the way, someone you paid. It's like when people want when people want it free or they don't want to pay for it, I got compassion for you. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, whatever. And by the way, it's a privilege to be able to say sometimes, like, you know what, don't worry about it, or you can pay me later. A lot of times, you know, sometimes people pay you later or whatnot. That's up to me. But honestly, paying someone that does a really good job is a privilege for you too, and it holds you accountable. That's how we value things. It's just how it is. Don't be afraid to sign up with me, Deputy 547. Well, if I had a specific problem that I thought you could help me with, I wouldn't be afraid. If I thought, you know, with your background as a law enforcement, and there was something I was dealing with law enforcement, maybe I could get more of a feedback. You know what I'm saying? If I feel like there's something to you that's going to help me, like I said, this person that ended up being my personal trainer for specifically weight training, lifting weights, and was a female. Right off the bat, I liked her. She lifts herself. I liked the idea that there was diversity in her plans, that she does some yoga, she does different things. It wasn't me just trying to be a brute and trying to get big. It was great. It's great. It's been a great experience. And I'm going to do things with other coaches in the future, probably. Right? Was there a question you had specifically, Deputy 547? You said you had? My question. X reached out from a fake. I know it's her. Won't go into details. Ended it with her saying, well, I will be reaching out again. Thoughts? Just knowing your ex, knowing your situation, move on. I don't know what this is, because we talked quite a few times, and you know me, I have a very good memory. By the way, let me know if that answered your question pretty well, Kyle. That relationship, Deputy 547, if you get back into it, you're gonna fall into the same. It's like you got caught in a booby trap, right? And you're like, should I walk in that same area again? And there's 5 more booby traps. That individual that you had that relationship with, here's what you don't realize too about the amount of mental issues people have now. They're gonna drag you in the snake pit eventually, and any faulty or traumatic or things about their past, they're gonna bubble up. And a lot of times they're gonna, if they're not educated, on getting therapy or figuring out their traumas or this or that, and they just go along life, they're gonna end up repeating things over and over again. It's just what happens. It creates these filters. And if I were you, I would you know, it's like you asking me, hey Mac, should I entertain the idea of drinking pure poison again, even though it kept me in the hospital for about 6 months and I overcame it? Should I try it again? It's like over here we have cobra snakes, right? There's cobras. There's cobras in people's gardens in Thailand, believe it or not. Real cobras. Now, I didn't know this before, but cobras are, I think it's like the second most deadliest venom or something in the world, right? And the number one place people get bit is on their hands. And he's like, where did that come from? Because they try to catch them. They try to catch the cobra. Right? And you think, who the hell would try to catch a cobra? What an idiot. Right? Now, you'd hope that if someone got bit by a cobra, especially in their hands, and they were trying to catch the thing, they wouldn't do it again. Right? Stop trying to catch the cobra, Deputy 547. Let it be. Let it be, my friend. Yeah, but even, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. That relationship, based on what you told me, front to end, beginning to end, I just don't see it ever being good. And I think that what happens with someone like yourself is you were such a good boyfriend, you went above and beyond, and you really loved this individual, and you had moments. You had moments you probably haven't had with other women before where you're like, damn, we were so connected on so many levels. And there was a kid involved that you got really attached to too. It's tough. It's tough, right? But you know why I don't see the situation changing? Because of what you told me about her parents and her sister. And what you told me about the history of her past relationships. I just don't see that happening. I don't see that happening in a year. And that's what we unpack in a coaching session. I'm not going to share what those things are on the live stream. I think that's a bit personal. But that's why I wouldn't say. If she was going to change, it would take probably therapy, and it would take an all-out effort. It wouldn't just be like you wake up one day and decide you changed. And it would probably take more than a year. And it would take her living in a different home, probably in a different city. She'd definitely have to get rid of that, away from that family. And that's the thing. This is what's amazing about dating someone with how should I put this? A suspect family, or a faulty family, or just a family where you're like, that's a mess. Right? Even if they're a bit different, they're more conscientious, they work harder, the family will pull them down over time if they're not able to get away from them. Because here's the thing, they're connected to that family, and if the family sees them doing really well or drifting away, they'll pull them back in. Because they'll be like, oh, they think they're so great now. There's a great psychologist, Virginia something. Do you know who that is, Modern Shrink? Virginia. And she said, the family will pull someone could be doing great in life. They could have got out of jail. They could have done this. They go back to the family house and they'll fall right back in. They'll fall right back in. And the family that you told me about, Deputy 547, no bueno, no bueno. Virginia Satir. Are you surprised I know some of these people? Right. I do my homework, hon. Virginia Satir, like I said, it's so when you tell me, oh, it's been a year, she can change. Sure. Anything's possible. Based on the way you told me she acted at the end, I don't think so. The family was involved at the end also. And just what you described to me about the sister and those people are always going to be in the picture. And they're always going to be an influence on her in the relationship. And I would add, one of the biggest ones I've ever had, this guy he was married 15 years, nice guy, he was beside himself. We do this breakup coaching session, and this is when I very first started. Kind of a crazy story. I forgot how it happened. He sent his story in. We went back and forth. He said, I don't have a lot of extra money right now, but I can help you with some computer things. He was a really nice guy. And I said, all right, we'll talk. So we talked. And his wife, they were married 15 years. I believe they had a kid. I believe they had two kids out of other marriages and raised them together. 15 years. Please listen to me. Said the mom was always a problem. The mom never liked. The mom was always shady. The mom always treated him like crap, and the mom always treated her very manipulative, and always made her feel very guilty about living far away, because I think she lived on the East Coast and they lived on the West Coast, something like that, which that helps. So if your ex Deputy 547 got to move away from the family, that helps quite a bit. And the mom had this manipulation over the daughter. And I don't know exactly what happened with the dad, but it was dark. There was something involved in that. 15-year marriage. The wife leaves him out of nowhere, right? Or so he told me. And like I said, I read people pretty well, and I believed him in his story. Right? 14 years or 15 years. She leaves. She moves in with her mom. They're in their 40s. The mom had manipulated her into needing her. I forgot what the reason was, so I'm not going to make it up off the cuff. And he said, like, the mom's always been manipulative. The mom's always been this kind of person. And the mom just found her in. I think it was like an ailment or something like that. And just broke her down and then made him the bad guy. And I mean, when we broke it down, we unpacked it. The mom had always been this kind of individual. And something had happened, and she doubled down on the manipulation, and she got her to move in with her. And she left him. Now, someone might go, oh, that's not the whole story. That's the story I got from him. Now, he said dad was very demeaning. That's a big word. That's a big word. And I'd add, it kind of makes me cringe sometimes when we get these, this girl has daddy issues. And people laugh about it sometimes, or they say, oh, guys have daddy issues. Dude, guys have mommy issues. Right? Just instead of making these blanket statements, talk to a therapist like Modern Shrink, or talk to a coach like myself, and let's talk about your individual problem with your individual parents. And if you want to talk to me about your ex, I'll probably ask, what's their relationship with their parents? There's a lot there. That's where the trail starts. It's like if you went to a murder scene, maybe that's a bad analogy. You'd be fingerprinting the place, right? You'd be looking for fingerprints first and foremost. You'd be looking for clues, right? Why are they like this? Why are they like this? Okay, number one clue, okay? I'm going to give it away to you. What's the parents treat her like? What has she developed as her form of love? Here's a big question to ask. And this is a Tony Robbins question. Who, and maybe you guys want to answer this question in the live stream, and I've had people that are blown away by this one. Who did you have to be to get attention from your mom and your dad? And it'll be two different answers. Who did you have to be to get attention and love? Maybe who did you have to be to get love, or who did you have to be to get attention from your parents? Who did you have to be? Or what did you have to be like? Good question. People were like, wow, that's a really good question. Think about it. Now, someone might answer, there's nothing I could have done. If your father was demeaning and there was nothing I could do to impress my father. There's nothing that I could do to be good enough for him. Well, guess what, Deputy 547? If that's the case, and you're nice and you do all these things, correct me if I'm wrong, because I have a fucking good memory. Damn it, I shouldn't be swearing. Everyone tells me this messes up the YouTube algorithm, right? It's who I am. She found ways. Correct me if I'm wrong. You say the dad was very demeaning. She found ways to frame things you said to be demeaning. Yes or no, Deputy 547? I got my hands up as if I'm on camera right now. She's going to filter for things that make it true again and again. And you're like, that wasn't demeaning what I said. I didn't mean it that way. No, you meant it this way. That's what she knows from people that love her or care about her. It's not just the fearful avoidant thing. It's not just that. It's the specific interaction of the word demeaning. You're using a specific word as the dad was demeaning, and then she found ways to find your words demeaning also. You're correct, bro. You cannot say for certain people, you cannot say for certain that she's not healed. You're right. She could be. Go for it. Tell me what happens. It's absolutely a possibility. But with your toolkit now and everything you know, you're going to fall right back into Mr. Fix-It. Guaranteed. And she'll fall right back into, well, you're demeaning me now because you're a coach and you think you're better than me. You're going to give her a chance? Oh, I would. Okay. Go for it. Most certainly not a blanket statement. I'm against a blanket statement. That's why. Every communication is a miscommunication sometimes. This is what I've learned. Words mean different things to different people. And so sometimes people will say, like Modern Shrink, well, I wouldn't use that word, or I wouldn't use that word. What you don't realize is that we're using the word that seems to fit best for us, right? Most certainly, man, being hung up on someone really can be mental prison, and put blinders on it. By saying most, I'm referring to the majority. I don't know what you guys were talking about earlier, so I'm kind of jumping in on that late. This is one of the few times I kind of just went off on a tangent and didn't read your... I mean, honestly, Deputy, there is no certainty. There is no, excuse me, if you heard that. There is no 100% out there, right? There isn't. You're right. You're right. You could say that, definitely. She could be fully healed. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd say, though, in my experience... I've had stages, now being 40, where I thought I'm secure now at 30, or I'm secure now at such and such, and I've learned so much and I have so much wisdom, and then I get surprised and I relapse into who I was before. Curious. I would say that's a fair assessment. I'm fine with whatever outcome. Yeah, I see the difference. I'm not banking on it, but I would give her a say. Deputy believes in love and second chances. I mean, yes, everyone deserves. No problem. No problem. And the way I would present that, Deputy, is I wouldn't, I give you my take. I tell you what I think. And if you ever came back to me and it was great, I would say, outstanding. I'm happy for you, man. That's really good. And I might even ask you some questions. I might say, well, what was different this time? Because I would want to know for future, like what made a difference, or what did she do to change, or why do you think that things were different? And if it didn't work out, or it went the way I said it did, and the same thing happened again, I wouldn't throw it in your face. I wouldn't say, oh yeah, I told you, or this or that. I've had it many times in live coaching sessions. Yeah, you were right, or this or that. And that's not my interest. I'm gonna be there regardless. And you're right. It could be a different outcome. Mac, you know how anxious I was in the past. It's definitely not like that now. I have done the work. Yeah, the question is, has she? I see about 10 problems here, but one of the biggest statements that keeps popping into my head from my book chapters: don't blame people for being who they are. Think about that one for a minute. And I come back to it when people piss me off, or when I'm perplexed. Don't blame them for who they are. The life experiences, what they went through, what's culminated, the recipes that went into who their personality is. You don't even have a seat at that camera angle. And so you think, like, why are they like this? Well, yeah, I just know they're avoiding attachment, this, that, and the other. But if you got to, like, have a life review of everything they've been through, oh my goodness, probably the compassion would be a 360. And some of the things that they're not telling you that happened, right? The amount of people that have divulged some things to me that I went, did you tell anyone else that before? Abuse, different things like that. We just don't know. So don't blame someone for who they are, or figure out why do they keep acting like this? Why aren't they? You know, I just had a client this last year. I think he's doing pretty well now because he hasn't talked to me in a while. But, you know, his ex was a bad alcoholic, but he was okay with it when they didn't live together, and the intimacy was better when she drank. He kind of laughed about that. But then when they broke up, he was getting all this really impulsive behavior and weird texts, and I'm like, well, he goes, yeah, well, she drinks every night starting about 7 o'clock, and she's usually in the bag by 10 o'clock. And I'm like, well, when do you get these texts? Oh, yeah, about that time when she's probably drunk. Oh, yeah, but she's always been a drink. I'm like, well, this is the bad side of drinking, right? You saw the positive side when you guys are on good terms and you're having a good time, and he was saying, you know, they went on a trip and got a hotel together, this and that and the other. But now you're seeing the other side of it when things aren't working out, and she's saying mean things to you impulsively. %, agree, Mag. We need a phone call, man. Yeah. Why has your face disappeared? I'm okay, Chuckster. I had an eye infection for a couple weeks. I'm much better now. My eye's better now too. But I just changed this for a little bit because usually when I'm on the camera, I have to put the light on my eye, you know, like a bright light. And I thought, I've always wanted to try it like this just to see if it's how it feels and whatnot, because I don't like the lights in my eyes anyways. So it's a little bit of an experiment. I'm not gonna never make videos and stuff like that again. So, Chuckster, it's really good to hear from you, bud. How you doing, man? But it's been good to be back on deck. I was out for a little while, and I miss a good spirited chat here. Anyone that's on, we got 16 on deck, 8 likes. I appreciate it. Any donations are appreciated. We're going on hour and 53 minutes here. Hey, that guy's girlfriend texts me at 10 when she's drunk too. Drunk texts sometimes contain truth. Yes, good point, Rob. I often say that alcohol can bring out the truth, actually. Actually, it's funny that said that there's a friend of mine that he probably wouldn't say it's coaching, but talk to me about his recent breakup and whatnot, and he just goes, man, I just sent her some crazy text, and I told her this, and he was like, I was drunk, and he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, so he doesn't like to rock the boat, and he was like, I was drunk, and I was like, and what you just said, Rob, the truth came out when he was drunk. Now, what happens when you're drunk, though, is it's probably not crafted or tailored the way you want it to go, because there's more emotion involved, but you no longer can hold it in. And so, yeah, there's some truth serum in that, right? And the barriers get dropped. Unfortunately, it creates more emotions where you might go too far. But I would add, just in my learning of just communicating with so many different people, every joke's half true. And people make little comments like they're half joking. Those are a lot of, don't just, if someone says a half joke, it's usually true. People that use examples, the examples are usually examples of what they've done. There's all these little things in communication. I could teach a really good class on listening and understanding communication based on coaching and teaching for years. And there's some things you can learn about it. that really help. Oh my goodness, Chuckster, thank you, my friend. I don't drink much, and when I do, I don't overdo it. Like, I have my wits about me. Must be the cop thing. Everyone's different, man. You probably had a family member that drank too much. You know what's funny about having an alcoholic parent? I'm not saying this about you because I don't remember Deputy 547. It can go both ways, right? You could either be an alcoholic because your dad always drank, and you're like, oh, it's in my genes, or you complain about your dad, or you can go, I never touched a drink because of the way my dad acted. Or you can go, well, when I drink, I never want to be my dad, so I don't overdrink. See how you can use the same problem in 5 different ways. So people are always spinning narratives. I just wrote this. I just made a note. I just made this note yesterday in the back of my head. The thing about narratives, they're never wrong. They're just a way to believe what you want to believe. Did you ever think about that? The thing about narratives, they're never wrong. They're just a way to believe what you want to believe. And do you ever really think, like, what do you want to believe? Let me ask you that one, Deputy 547. And thanks for riding the whole show today and having a spirited conversation with us today. I know you're a bit of a celebrity now. When you talk about maybe giving your ex another try or revisiting things, and you say, I'm curious, and you say, people can change because I changed. Is that a narrative you want to believe? And I don't think it's bad. It's positive. Modern Shrink says, just to clarify, as a therapist, identity statement, words play a big role in how clients take them. That's why I'm all about reframing and encourage a change of words, because as a therapist, we're easily sued more than coaches. Well, that sucks. Well, I have a lot of alcoholics in my family. You want to... So do I. Kindred spirits. Deputy 547. I remember my mom would always say, you got to be careful, honey. We got a lot of, we have that in our genes, because her dad was a bad alcoholic. My dad was, my uncles were, okay. But if you ever followed Bruce Lipton, who's a genius, environment affects the genes. Genes don't just happen. They need to be affected by the environment and the actions taken in the environment. Think about that for a minute. So, for example, if someone had their father, their grandfather, their grandmother, they were all alcoholics, and they were raised in a Buddhist temple, which wouldn't be a bad place to be raised, probably, depending on which, they were raised, and where you couldn't drink. Would they become alcoholics? Probably not. That gene would never be turned on. So when people go genes, look up Bruce Lipton's work. I always thought ignorantly that there were people that were just allergic to alcohol. That's what I used to say. Like, in other words, this person is just allergic to alcohol. They just can't handle their drinks. But I think it's a combination, Rob, of what you said earlier when the truth comes out. So some people really hold their cards tight, right? And you kind of are like, but then if they have a lot of dark stuff in them, emotions and experiences that they haven't let loose, and they get drunk, look out, man. Those people are get off the wall. Oh man, I can't drink. One thing I can't deal with now is the hangovers, and I don't even drink that much. Very sparingly. And but when I do, oh my goodness, it takes a day. Oh yeah, man, I appreciate you and the value of your opinion. A phone call needed, though, haha, chatting between coaches. A phone call right now or in the future? It's like in a really well-written book, the antagonist's reasons for antagonizing can sometimes be sympathetic. Sure. Like sarcasm? Is that what you mean, Chuckster? Who said you were hating Modern Shrink? I don't see that at all. I can't or I won't. Yeah, that's a classic. I read the Bruce Liston book, Biology and Belief. Very interesting read. Highly recommend it. Rob, he's got a couple lectures on YouTube that are great too. And I like Bruce Lipton's approach. I believe him, and his background, and that's epigenetics is something that people should really dive into. Epigenetics, very interesting topic. Very interesting topic. But this idea that your genes are just inevitable is not true. And as far as Bruce Lipton's work goes, your environment is going to turn those genes on or off. It's just I can't wait to get this start this hypnotherapy course I'm doing. It's going to be great. No one said I was hating. I just don't want you two to offend you or anyone if I suggest reframing words. It's professional supporting other professionals that makes sense. Yeah, no problems, Modern Shrink. No problem at all. Have you read Junk DNA? No. Is that by Bruce Lipton also? Oh, there you go. Sabina got a new fan. Okay, whenever you're free. We'll set something up in the future, bud. Well, definitely Deputy 547. Maybe when I get back to the States, one thing that's going to be... I know you're kind of a night owl, huh? Because I know it's late for you. Are you still near Chicago, Deputy 547? Maybe you didn't want me to say that. Plan to do more of a morning show, which might not be good for Rob IS and the other ones, just to make sure it's daily. But I'd rather have... I'm going to have a regular time. I'm going to have a regular time now that I'm finishing school at the end. Basically, mid-October, I'll be done with teaching. And I'll be all in. And that'll be burn the ships and take the island here. I forget who at the moment was part of the series of books I read last year. What time in the morning? I know you love the night stuff. If I do a daily show and I'm back in the States for a few months, we'll see how it goes, but I'd rather just do it first thing. I'm one of those people. I love to have my coffee and my breakfast and then do it. That's at my best point for doing a show. And right now where I'm at, it's 1:50 p.m. It's 2 a.m. But some people like the night stuff. I go to bed between 10:30 and 11:30 now, and if I don't. There's certainly some times where I have a few beers with some friends or something like that, where I stay up a little later. I'm tired. 10:30, 11:30 is my time to go to sleep. I remember a couple of years ago, I was visiting my niece, and I was sleeping. She had like a roll-out couch, and which I was fine with. Spending some couple days at her apartment. She had some friends over, and some other people were coming over, and I said, hey, look, not here. And she's like, what? And she's like, okay, because my niece respects me. We're very close. I said, hey, look, this is where I'm sleeping. And she's like, okay. I'm like, so don't tell more people to come over here. And about 11 o'clock, 11:30, I'm going to want to go to sleep. She's like, okay, uncle. You got to put your I'm like, I don't want people in here. If you had a bedroom for me and I could just go to bed, fine. That's okay. But if it's in the living room and there's people sitting all over the couch and there's all these people in here and we got to, no. Aleph actually coming by today. He's doing well, man. Thanks for asking. He's doing really well. I got him a pretty good job doing film and video with someone else. And Danny, who helped me out for a little bit, was a former student. Actually just got a really good job online helping out with video games. So kind of was always the plan. Uncle Mac, yep, that's me. Chuckster, I got a niece and a nephew very close to me. Aleph's the character, yeah. I'm not sure if he's here. He was supposed to come right now. So he told me too he wants to join. It was kind of funny because many, Clutch has come on the live streams before, and me and Clutch talked a few times, and he was like, wow, you had a lot of patience sometimes with him with his English being off or his pronunciation being wrong. And I said, I live in a foreign country and I teach English at a university, so it kind of goes with it. It's just built in now. I don't get upset. Like, what are you trying to say? I know how to communicate with someone that I don't understand by saying, like, what are you trying to say? It's not like, what? It's like, spell it, say it again. What do you, yeah, it's built in now. Deputy says, I know you're not big on attachment styles, but I have used it and been very successful with them. The general patterns help a lot in coaching, gives more of an understanding of why they do things. I have no, yeah, I would say exactly what you said. I'm not big on it. I'm not against it. And if it works for you, at some point I'll probably dive deeper in it. I think part of it is too, Deputy 547. I haven't, studied it hard. And so until I do, I wouldn't be, it's one of those things. I can go read an article or I can read a chapter in a book. I have a couple books that have the attachment issues. And I think what turned me off to it originally, and this is just me personally, and like I've said before, if you use them and it's helpful and useful, outstanding. I know Clutch is very big on them. And Clutch is like, well, show me something else that's better and let me know. Okay. My thing is I found that I just feel like I feel like it's limiting you to 4 or 5 different boxes, and then you have to identify with one of them, because you can't say, well, I'm none of them. And I felt like when I first read it that I couldn't be defined by all of them. So I felt like in moments I could be insecure or avoidant. In moments, I'm not very anxious overall. I'm not a very anxious person overall. So I didn't really line up with that. The avoidant can be. Secure can be very secure. Never been more secure than now in my life. Does that mean I'm always secure? So someone says, well, now I'm secure. Do I have moments where I'm an avoidant? Yeah. Do I have moments where I can be a bit anxious? Not many, but there's something. So then it bodes the question, like, so is this just a plot? You know what I mean? And so that's, I know you can be more than one box, but I mean, if I have to figure out what box, I mean, so if I go to you, Modern Shrink, I go to Deputy 547, what if you put me in different boxes based on the stories I tell? Right? What if we're talking about my breakup and then I come to you, Modern Shrink, for something about my family life or something, and then you go, oh, there's difference. Then what do I do? Because at the end, you're taking those labels or boxes, or maybe I should say categories or theories. Theories is the word. There you go. Bullseye. And it's opinion based, right? It's opinion based on what I'm telling you. But my thing is for my own approach, I'd like to get into the details and then not put a label on it and see if we can work from there. And that's why I really like Milton Erickson's approach, who's a hypnotherapist, psychologist. And if you've read some of his books, I think Modern Shrink said she's read some of his books. The Uncommon Therapy, Wherever You Go, My Voice Goes With You. If you read, and the interesting thing about Milton Erickson is there's some psychologists, psychoanalysts that are like, oh, it's total bullshit because there's no way he did what he did. Right? There's no way he did what he did. These stories of what he's done, they can't be true. I've heard a psychologist say that. Okay. And if you follow Milton Erickson's work, which I'm not saying he's the godfather of all ways to help people, I like it. And he wouldn't use something like that. He would look at the stories that the people are telling. He would look at how am I gonna give them something? How am I gonna give them something to work towards presently? How am I gonna reframe this in a very creative way that's their language, which is important to them? And I just find his work to be brilliant, and I believe in it. If someone else said, "Oh, I don't like it," this or that, okay, no problem. Down the road, I wouldn't turn my back on it. I just think that if you use it, then you're choosing not to use other methods, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's see here. Mac, I'd say you'd be more fearful, avoidant, leaning, dismissive. I don't have the characterizations of those, so I don't know how to. Very dependent and value control, wounds around control, betrayal, trust not being good enough. So they want love. A fearful. Sorry, let's see here. Fearful avoidant is someone who has a good experience around. So I'm going to see if this applies to me. Fearful avoidant is someone who has good experience around connection. But somewhere in there is abuse in some way. So you see how vague that is, though? So you're going to clarify what the good experience is, and you're going to clarify what would be the abuse. So they want love, they like a relationship, but they also are very independent and value control. Wounds around control, betrayal, trust, not being good enough. I've never had an issue with not being good enough. And what do you mean by wounds around control, betrayal, and not being good enough? What is do you mean that you get wounds from control, betrayal, and trust? I'm sorry, that statement's puzzling. Can come off as anxious, but when triggered and hurt, they will turn dismissive and repress their emotions. On back. What are you guys up to? Petty Betty, you haven't been here the whole time. I put them in the chat. Read a bunch of his books, but he's got quite a few. Yeah, and it's a different approach, right? Milton Erickson's different. Example, your mom was loving, but your dad was emotionally abusive. Okay. General patterns, Mac. General. I would say from what you said with a broad brush, there's some truths there, Rob. Deputy 547, there's some truths there. There's definitely some truths there. You know what you'll like, Petty Betty? I don't know if I told everyone this already, but about thanks for that, Deputy 547. I appreciate dropping an assessment on that. That's cool. Both Modern Shrink and Deputy 547. Like I said, at some point when I dig deeper on that, I'll give you guys some feedback. And to be honest, I'm not dead set against it. I just want to take a different approach. And I think if I took that approach for me, it would take away from the approach I want to go towards. But I think, what do you characterize yourself as a coach and different things like that, or and as I do this longer, I think we're allowed to shape our style the way we want. And I'm definitely one of those people that aren't, I would never use attachment issues. I would never talk about those. Like I said, I'd rather get into the stories and go from there with solutions. But like I said, if it works for you, I'm ecstatic. See, but this is the thing I have with it. But you could be fearful, avoidant, but you're leaning towards dismissive. To me, it starts to get confusing. I would rather just talk about, my mom was loving, my dad was there was some form of abuse, but I'd like to talk about those in depth and rather just label it. Right? If you need to label it as a way to deal with it, that's okay. But when you put the label on it, it's like, for me, I'd rather talk about the stuff, the individual issues, and then find the seeds or the roots, the first domino that gave you a limited belief or a feeling of not enough, and go back and reframe that. Or Milton Erickson, what's really interesting about him actually is if someone came to him with trauma, I think in My Voice Will Always Go With You, one of the first stories, the woman was abused quite a bit and whatnot. He doesn't do anything with reframing the past. He just creates new avenues in the future that use what happened to you in the past. Kind of, you got to read we have to go through the book. It's one of those books you got to read twice. Just a different approach. That's all I'll say. And you know what I'd say too, you're probably doing it yourself now, W5. As you coach, you develop new things and new styles and new ways, and people surprise you sometimes. Personal development school on here is who you should look at when you do, man. Okay. Thanks, bro. All right, I need a hug. Who needs a hug? Free love. Good night, everyone. Keep on trucking. Right on, LinderTube. There is a yoga pose where you kind of hug yourself. Maybe you should start doing that, LinderTube. But I have a sneaking suspicion that you would never do yoga, that you would make fun of the people in the class. Yes, that's what we do in coaching. Yes, we do that in coaching. We don't like labels, but we all label in the end. Like the title coach is a label. That's interesting you said that, Modern Shrink, because when I first started doing what I did, I didn't want to use the title coach. It's kind of funny because I didn't want to be under that umbrella with some people that put coach on there. And now, my clients, they'll say, hey, coach. So it fits. But I struggled with it in the beginning because it's like when I was a real estate agent, I didn't like someone say, oh, what do you do? I'm an agent. And then you got to be under that umbrella of all real estate agents. I'll tell you which one I really liked. I like saying I'm a teacher. I've always been proud of that. I regard that as something that I'm proud of. And now coach, I wouldn't say I hold it as high regard, because some people, when you say coach, coach hasn't been around that long. So I think some people look at it as, oh, that's not real, or that's not this, right? Where PhD holds all this weight because it's been around a long time. It's associated with being a doctor. It's associated with going to a lot of school. But I've worked with people that got PhDs before that the places that they got PhDs and the stuff they got PhDs in weren't very impressive. But the title stands alone, right? So I understand what you mean about labels. What's really interesting, and I think other people could relate to this one, is, being a sports fan, comparisons people need to make all the time, right? It's like when we have the draft for the NBA or American football. I say American football because the rest of the world calls soccer football. So I've adapted that. They'll say, oh, this player is like this player and this player. It's kind of funny in the NBA that if there's a white player in the draft, they always have to compare it to another white player. It's kind of weird. If a guy's really good, he's got to be compared, and so we do that. We do comparisons a lot. You're right. Yeah, it sucks. I diagnose, and I hate doing it because of putting them in an umbrella. I just say you are who you are because of the trauma. Yeah, it's one of the things I don't like about teaching is that I have to give you points and give you a grade. And over the years, I would say I'm a teacher that gives a lot of good grades. I'm a player's coach. I used to say, for grades, my class I'm not into failing people. But when grading and scores come, I don't enjoy it. And some teachers do. They really do. But at the end of the day, Modern Shrink, I guess what you could say is Deputy 547, Modern Shrink. What would be nice is with all this information available online now, is we can craft a different style rather than follow something that we learned in a program from a university, because there's so many talks and variety of things that are shared online, right? And the fact that Deputy 547 is going to have clients, you're going to have clients, and then you can say, like, actually, because you can literally have one or two situations, or you can start seeing patterns in things and develop your own strategy or tactics that work. I'm sure my approach talking to someone would be a little bit different than Deputy 547 or Modern Shrink, and that's okay. As long as we're all trying to help the person, right? Now I've healed it, forgiven my father, because I understand why he does what he does and understand my worth. Therefore, I am more securely attached, still doing the work now. Good for you, man. Sincerely, good for you. They think you're managing a little league team or something. I use DMM. People book me for talk. Are you doing coaching now, Sabina? Cool. Yeah, people roll their eyes at coaches sometimes. You want to hear something funny, especially living where I live, right? So it's funny. That's something in the Bay Area or probably LA. There's a lot of people that have coaches. I think it's not as big a deal, but living where I live, sometimes people will definitely roll their eyes or be like, "What? You help people with the relationship coach or break, or like what?" Because it's not a term that's been around long, so it's uncomfortable. But saying that, my clients are very comfortable calling me coach because it's what I do. I'm good with it now. I'm good with it now. And some people after the experience, the common theme I get is, you're like a good friend that I've known for a long time, or you're like a big brother. I'll take that. Someone might be like, oh, well, that's not therapy. Well, okay. That's the privilege that I've had in crafting my own path. I don't have to fall under what I have to do based on the textbook or the class I took. If someone says you really helped me and you seem like a big brother, that's fine. If that crosses a line for the world of therapy, okay, then don't call me a therapist. Everyone should want to be securely attached, able to communicate, set boundaries, not become codependent, recognize, handle triggers. Exactly. Their happiness is the goal. Northern Lights, you talking about? What's up? That's Laffy is Aleph. Mac, not openly, just for a few friends. I need a website. Okay. Rural Missouri is hard for coaches. Oh, yeah. When I first started doing this, I had no support. I am terrible with social media. Well, you definitely have a lot of support on your, Deputy 547, you had to really put yourself out there for your social media and stuff. You do a lot of stuff on there. And that's what it takes a lot of times now. So, I'm sure if I was better at my social media, it would help quite a bit. The most rewarding thing has been these women who have been through this trauma after coaching. They are finally starting to let go and have love for themselves. No smiles in the first session, but smiles and smiles. Good, man. See that? If you told me like, oh, attachment styles work for that, and I'm so happy for you. Being a teacher for years, I'd have a student come up at the end of the term or when they graduate and they tell me how much they like my class or, just some really nice things about it. I call it teacher currency. It gives you chills. And the same thing happens with coaching. I think with coaching though, you're establishing long-term ties because people can come back to you again and again. And that's what I really enjoy now, like 2 or 3 years later, even though some people are having problems and someone's like, I'm back again. It's like, doesn't it feel good that when you do have a problem and we've talked before and we have a great connection and rapport and you come back to me, you're like, oh, I don't have to I think when you go to see a therapist or a coach for the first time, it's uncomfortable. You're not sure how it's going to go. So when you develop that relationship and you have that go-to person, it's really nice. Someone saying that things are going too well. Well, that's someone that doesn't believe in things going well, right? They think the other foot's going to drop. I'm the same way. I sometimes coach friends if they want advice. If they want more, I prefer them to coach my. Well, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. Be the domino. Be the person that people don't realize. And maybe you have this deputy in I don't know if you can do it as much as a shrink, modern shrink. Supporting people and giving them compliments when they're doing well as a respected figure. Telling someone you're proud of them. There's a certain age we get to where we don't hear that very often, do we? I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you, hon. Like, I'm proud of you. You've done a really good job. And when you say that, you talk about inner child and all those things. How many times did your parents say that to you? I don't know. I think that's a strong statement. Or even when you've done something well, there's family and friends, correct me if I'm wrong, colleagues, you've done something well, you got a promotion, you got a new job, and you say you're excited about it. And you can just feel they're not really that happy for you. Oh, or they might just piss on it and just go, oh, well, it's not that great a job because this, and this. Or they might just give you a blank stare like, oh, yeah, that's great. right? And you have someone you respect and you go, man, I'm happy for you. You deserve that. It's not by accident. I'm not surprised that you're doing this well, right? And you're an adult and someone does that. It's important. It's important. And it's not fake. It's not someone from human resources or some, hey man, you've done a great, like some of these coaches, it's just too much. I've done this I'm not going to say what it is. I signed up for a coaching program that I thought would be good and all this other stuff. And we've gotten halfway through it and it's just the lingo is so cheesy. High fives, soul snacks. Hey guy, everything's just so over the top cheese whiz. It's like in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, man, you like doing it like that, where there's no negativity, there's no objective opinion, there's no telling you you're wrong. It's the equivalent of, you know, when kids play in leagues and everyone gets a giant trophy at the end of the year, and they're like, oh, just for participating, you know, even though you suck at soccer and you hit it in the wrong person's goal, here's your trophy and you did a good job. That's actually not good. It's just the like I said, someone might go, oh, well, maybe you're not positive enough. It's not that. It's just over the top. It's over the top cheese whiz. We can tell client we're happy for them. It's being immediate and genuine. I also tell them, though, that even if I'm proud of them, they don't need me to validate them. The only validation is from themselves. I wouldn't say that. I would. That seems to discount it. I feel pretty secure about what I do and my channel and coaching. I feel very confident about it. But if you give me a compliment, because I already feel that about myself, it doesn't take away anything about that. Anytime that being someone that's trained in your position and does something and stuff like that, anytime you compliment me, thank you. Anytime Deputy 547 or someone, thank you. Or say something kind about the work I do, thank you. Right? I appreciate it. I really do. And I never feel like I need the validation, but I definitely feel like throw some more fuel in my tank. Oh, well, that's a Rob IS thing that you could talk about. He uses those. That's funny you said that, Deputy 547. That's funny you said that. I think it's gotten out of hand a bit. Talk about labeling people. I don't like the idea that we have two labels. And who's defining what. You know, if we're going to define the ultimate alpha, it'd have to be Jocko Willink, a Navy SEAL, right? I mean, I think people can be an alpha and a beta in a moment. You know, there's some guy could be the biggest alpha in the world and be afraid of dogs, or, you know, and this idea like, you know, these guys out there that have it all figured out with women and they're maybe it's red pill, maybe it's this. And let me just clarify, not all red pill people are the same, and I don't know all the rules to that label. But every guy meets their match. I've said this many times before, and life has a way of surprising you and humbling you. You don't want to call it karma, call it being humbled. And you know, you're on a great run with money, you're on a great run with women, you're in a great relationship. And life just has a way of humbling you. And you know, a lot of times people like to give advice at the mountaintop, but never really saw what it was to fall off the cliff. And I'd rather talk to someone that's fell a few times than someone that's talking down to people. And that's something that I try to do, and what I do is I try to talk with people. I don't want to talk down to you. And some of these people, they just have it all figured out. You're an alpha or you're a beta. Okay. Again, that goes back to my thing with labels. I certainly know why people use that. I think that people are a little bit more intricate than that. And I think it could be detrimental to some people. Obviously, the people that believe themselves to be alpha, I guess it's great for them. But I could do a whole show on that. I don't think... Mary Lee, have you been on before? I don't think we are defined by trauma. That's like saying what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I don't believe that. Trauma can make you bitter and resentful. It's good things that make us stronger. Well, it's interesting you say that, Mary Lee. I often tell people out of a breakup that your ex doesn't define you. And really, your life won't be defined till the end, right? It's what we do with legacy. And so if you're living life in a series of continuous moments, it's all going to lead to the next, lead to the next, lead to the next. And there's not going to be one thing that defines anything. But there are going to be things that lead to this, to lead to this, that lead to this. It's like I said, I'm being redundant, but the domino effect of one action leads to the next. And your breakup, per se, leads to another action that leads to another action that leads to another action that leads to another action. And when are people depressed and sad? When they're not making any kind of action. They've kind of come to a stalemate. And when crisis happens, it's your opportunity. And a lot of times crisis will dislodge some kind of trauma that you had that you didn't know you had, right? So I definitely agree. It doesn't define you, but it definitely, traumas definitely create a seasoning in your personality and your character that's different, that's unique to you, and enables you to be someone that can help someone else that's had a similar problem before, or be compassionate to that person. So it's not only that it doesn't necessarily define you, but it actually over time can be a scar or a wound that you're proud of because you overcame it and you're able to help others from it. Having limited characters to write, I think what I wrote wasn't what I fully wanted to say. I don't think you fully understand what I meant. I also tell them, no, it's even. I'm proud of them so often. Okay, modern drink. Do your Jocko impression. Just get over it. Toughen up. I know it's going to be difficult. Breakups happen. Get over it. Move on. Start a new mission. Says the guy that's been married for 10, 15 years and, you know, that's the thing with sometimes with people that have been married or something like that. Oh, you've been married 10, 15, 20, 30 years and then you're talking to someone about breakups? Good luck. If it happens to you, Stephon Curry, whose parents, you know, I don't know if people know who Steph Curry is, the basketball player, but his parents, by surface standards, when you see him in the crowd, look like they got two kids that are NBA players. I think their daughter's some kind of NBA, I don't know, some kind of star too, and they look healthy and excited and happy and vibrant, and they're getting a divorce, I guess, in their late 50s. It's gone public. You'd never think it. Seems like self-proclaimed alphas these days are jaded men who prey on insecure women, while betas are men who came from an emotional place. The one that really bothers me is the whole fresh and fit thing. That's something we could talk about one day, Deputy 547. That show caught fire. A friend of mine actually told me about it, and recently they've just had a lot of controversy. It's kind of like a Jerry Springer. But I thought from the get-go, I'm like, wow, these guys are taking all these ideas of, you know, how attraction works and getting lots of women, and really both of them, especially one of them, are extremely insecure, seem like guys that weren't really cool in the past. I mean, I mean, do you know when you're like, they're trying way too hard. One of the guys in that Fresh and Fit, he's just trying way too hard. He's what I call a recovering nerd. I like people that are honest nerds. Own it. There's a lot of good pieces of being a nerd. I've had good friends that are nerds, and they own it. But he went from being a nerd, it sounds like, to being a pickup artist, and you can just see the nerd seething through who he is. And it's like, just stop, just be yourself, dude. Quit trying so hard. He's like stuttering as he's trying to kick game. It's embarrassing to listen to. I mean, it's horrible, actually. Right? Isn't that one of the things that I don't know. I've talked about this before, but can't you just tell when someone's trying to be someone they're not, and it's just painful to watch, especially when you get older? I mean, when you're a teenager, it happens a lot because people try to wear a lot of different caps. They're trying to figure out who they are, and a lot of that has to do with, if you ever read Sebastian Junger's book Tribe, a lot of that has to do with not being a part of a tribe where you have an initiation in your teen years, which a lot of tribes had. So then you're a man, or you're a woman, or you're this. So not having that, you're trying on all these caps in your teen years, right? You might go from being a heavy metal person to being on the sports team. You're trying different things. When you get a little bit older, you really start to find yourself in your 30s to late 30s. I was talking to a guy in his 40s, and he's like, it takes a long time to learn yourself. But I think that has to do with your different life experiences. But when you meet someone, you're like, wow, that person owns who they are, man. They're really authentic, right? And they don't have to be someone different. They don't have to. I think a lot of these channels, I'm on a YouTube channel, you're online too, Deputy 547. It's like, man, these people are just trying so hard to just be so cool. I think true alpha is someone who has their stuff together, secure with themselves, will stand up for what they believe in. Yeah, but the true alpha is capable of beta moments. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So it's like, again, there's only two choices. I get depressed when I fucked up, but like when I fell off the wagon and you gave me encouraging words instead of making me feel worse. Thank you, Mac Daddy. Man. Well, thanks for saying thank you, Mary. It means a lot, hon. And I've developed one of the things, I don't know if you know this one, Deputy 547, and maybe this sounds obvious. Maybe this sounds really obvious to most people, but I know it's been developed as a coach for myself. You're going to, as a coach, especially with breakups, you hear some stuff that you can give an obvious reaction to, and you hear some things that are shameful. It's obvious, like if someone drank too much and did something bad, or there seems like there's an obvious answer to it. But really, one of the greatest gifts you can give someone is when they feel shameful or guilty, when you listen to them, that you can stay neutral. That you cannot react in a way that makes them feel like, I really messed up. That you can forgive them in that moment. That's brilliance as a coach. That's what they're looking for. Because a lot of people will immediately react like, oh my God, what happened? You did what? Oh, you messed up. And they just pour gasoline on the fire. And then they just create more and more guilt and more and more guilt. And so you go to someone and they can say, messed up, huh? Well, you know what you did. And they can just sit there with you. I had it recently where someone told me something extremely shameful. And I was able to handle it neutral. Because I knew I'm not going to give this any more weight than it already has. And I knew when we got off that call, it made that person feel so good that I didn't give it more weight, that we unpacked it in a way that it wasn't so bad. You made a mistake. You messed up. Don't make it a habit. I'm not going to judge you for it. It's big. Chuckster, let's make a movie of it and make millions. Sounds good to me. Yes, various alphas can have beta moments at times. That's the thing. I'm in my car and I think I'm seeing someone about to get lucky. Wow. Okay. Yeah, the alpha and the beta thing, it just goes back to, you know, who how about this one? Who decides if I'm an alpha or I'm not an alpha? You? You get to tell me if I'm an alpha or not an alpha based on what you know of me? Or I get to decide? It's like everyone gets an opinion now with Twitter and Instagram. I talked about this before. I don't really talk on Instagram very often, but I think I wrote like one. Charles Bukowski had a quote up and I made some comment. I don't even remember what it was. And someone went on this spiel about, you don't know Charles Bukowski. You don't know how to interpret it. You got it all wrong. And I'm like, says who? You? Yeah. Newsflash. Charles Bukowski's been dead for a while, so no one's going to get the reels on this. No one's going to know if so you're speaking for him? I know him. I know who he is and what he means. Okay, sure. This is how people are now. Says who? You? It's a great reaction, right? Someone gives you their opinion. Well, you don't have this right. Says who? You? And the funny thing is the person went, yeah, me. Wow. Now, if Charles Bukowski told me, hey, man, you don't get what I was trying to get by this. Well, those were your words. I'll listen. And then I'll say, well, I guess it was a misunderstanding or a miscommunication. I always preach that they have to forgive themselves because guess what? We're all humans and allowed to make mistakes. You're right. Deputy 547, if I suggest something to you, I would look into emotional freedom technique, the tapping that we did before. That might be helpful in some of your stuff. Yeah, it's like so judgmental, wants to talk to someone that's going to look down on them. And you know what's interesting about that, Mary? Is someone that's a therapist or a coach, they might not say it, but their tone or their reaction to what you told them can make you feel that way. You know what I'm saying? You did what? Oh, that happened? Like, and you're like, oh, they didn't like what I did. It's very subtle. Good question. Who decides alpha or not? Right. That's the thing that you got to ask yourself, right? I think that it's an assessment that can only be applied over the course of time. Well, that's a good point. Like I said, at the end, the body of work, right? Sure. Well, look at someone like Steve Jobs. I don't know. Some people would say highly successful. Someone would say a leader. Was willing to, put himself first in a lot of cases. Definitely had a purpose. Horrible dad. I don't know what his relationships were like, but based on his movie, they didn't look very good. I don't know if the movie was there was two different movies. Both of them didn't portray him very good as a colleague or a father, but he was on his purpose. He was centered. There was a lot of alpha traits there, right? But he probably couldn't kick anyone's ass in a fight, probably. Maybe I'm wrong. You know what I mean? So like, then you percentagize, well, Steve Jobs is probably 60% alpha and 40% beta. Okay. I don't know. That's an interesting one, right? And that's the thing about the alpha and the beta thing. 21st century. 21st century. Elon Musk alpha. 1950s, he's a weenie. I don't know. Sitting next to someone and just being there for someone else who feels like the weight of the world is on their shoulders can make the world a world of difference. Yep. Human touch is underrated. Big time. Big time. Fun fact, tapping originated from the butterfly hug. It was used on children for bilaterals. We use it in EMDR as well. EFT, emotional freedom. I'm gonna take a course in it. I'm gonna go to a Modern Shrink. Go ahead and email me. I'll send you this course I'm doing. I'm gonna do an energy course too on Reiki and some other things, some EFT too. It's not gonna be this term, but next term. Rob, if it's just the followers, it's a waste. There are potential clients. Deputy 547 has maximized his social media reach. That's for damn sure. And good for you, man. EMDR. I'm not familiar with EMDR. Okay. God, there's so many different things, huh? And the place I'm going to also has a certificate in shamanism. And the funny thing is I've talked to a few friends and they're like, oh, I'd rather do that. I like spiritual stuff. I'm definitely, the last couple of years, there's definitely been some moments, especially as a coach. Yeah, send me one. I'll send you this thing I'm going on. 611 on TikTok, 69,000 on Instagram. Go for you, bro. Go for you. I know you put in the work on that. And I know you're a good person. I like the way you've been using it as a bridge to doing good work. I have a Twitch, but I don't use it. I'll be using you now to stream. Got invited to be a partner on there. Oh, wow. I'm not familiar with you now. Yeah, we'll have to have a talk soon. Deputy 547. I keep saying that. And I think of your name. Rob, maybe they will wake up in 30s and do the job on themselves. All right, we got... That's fucking great, bro. That right there alone, anything else you do, just drop the mic, Deputy 547. That's outstanding, bro. Seriously. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, be the domino, be the person that's not the spectator complaining about everything around us in the world. And, we've even talked about labels and, different things on this talk today. But the fact that you donate half of any merch money to Special Olympics and donate to autism clinics, I think that's just outstanding. That take a bow, my friend. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. And I like that you didn't mention that till now. Right? It's so important, man. One of the reasons I want to be more successful at what I do and make more money is to have the opportunity to choose my own route of charity or whatnot and help people that I really want to help in that way. And I think that's a fucking privilege. That's a privilege what you're doing, Deputy 5, to choose something that means something to you. I think one of the ones that that I will do is when I get to your level, Deputy 547, when I'm making the big money like you, I want to create a scholarship or a reward program for 911 dispatchers in California. My sister was a 911 dispatcher. And it's just one of those things that I'm obviously biased.
I just don't see them ever getting any kind of credit. I know that, by the way, that police officers don't get a lot of credit these days either, and I don't stand by that at all. That's for another talk. But 911 dispatcher, I'd like to do something in the name of that, in my sister's name, who passed away a couple years ago. And my sister also was able to be an organ donor, and I'd like to do something with that. My mom's been doing that she's been having some talks, and when I go back home, I'm probably going to join her and talk about my sister's ability with the way she passed away to give away all her organs, which I thought was just incredible. So that donating your organs is something that I haven't heard talked about a lot, but I think it's something that, watching the movie, what was it, 7 Pounds with Will Smith, I remember being like, wow, that's a way to go. And my sister did it, and that's something that I would want to do. But what a privilege, though, to choose a charity that you really believe in. Well done, man. Well done. Keep it going. Yeah, the scholarship thing. Like I said, I mean, 911 dispatchers, it's dear to my heart because my sister was in it, and I know it's just one of those things that doesn't really get talked about, and I'd like to give them some credit in some way. But whatever charity or whatever you choose to do to help someone out, I mean, when you get to that point, it's big. It's big. And I would add, Deputy 547, one of the things I would say too, and thanks for staying on this long. And Kyle, thanks for saying you're still going strong. Those are the things that you're going to be proud of when the day comes, right? Then you're on your deathbed. Those are the things you're going to be proud of. And I'm extremely proud of my sister that she put that donor tag on there. Who would have known? We've gotten letters about people having her heart or her cartilage in their knees and all different things. It's just amazing. It's something I didn't know about. But anything you do, I would add, this is what I wanted to say. Beyond, I think it's great, the Special Olympics and autism. I'm not familiar with how that works or how they receive the money. But I think charity to individuals, whether that's a scholarship or not, that are going to use it and become dominoes in the world. In other words, they're gonna use it well, and they're gonna become good human beings. I think that goes a long way, rather than always spreading it over because I've worked at a charity before, a couple. They're not all bad, but there's some people in them sometimes that are at the top that you're kind of like, wow, your salary's pretty high. But at the same time, they do a lot of work, to be fair. That someone has to do the heavy lifting. I should say that. But I would say that there's a lot of value in helping an individual out and staying connected with them. Really is. And being supportive and being able to, to be there for them for a long period of time. A modern shrink, take care. Tony Robbins, Napoleon Hill preached that. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Last year from October till December, we raised $10K for the local autism. Excellent. I'm actually in the works on a coaching app with 3 other coaches I'm good friends with. We have discussed a scholarship thing. Excellent. We will. Well, you remember her daughter. I do remember that. I didn't want to mention it, that her daughter was autistic, and she really opened my eyes to that. I do remember that, Deputy 547. Like I said, and that's see how things are. See how you connect the dots later on, and you go, okay, we broke up. I had heartbreak. I'm even still curious about her, but I learned about autism from her daughter, and I got that. That's going to be a part of your life for the rest of your life now. And now you're donating money because of meeting her. So the breakup had nothing to do with that part. And that's how we should all look at things. Bad luck, good luck. It's all connected. It's all a series of events. At my work, we purchase prepaid grocery cards for 2 shelters with any excess money we get from the project we develop. Excellent, man. Long one today. I know, Kyle. Sitting quietly listening to Mac and watching everyone chat the past 9 months while feeling like a weight of the world is on my shoulders has made a world of difference. Well, thanks, Chuckster. I appreciate that. I know you've been going through something. And any help that I could have helped and on the show or anything like that, it's reciprocal. I really believe that. I really believe in that. So I raised my money recently for someone in need, got the money, chose the person. They gave me the wrong Venmo name, and so the random person got the money. Oh, no. Well, good intentions. You do the best you can sometimes. That's wonderful, Chuckster, Deputy Grob. Great. American Heart Association, kids born with congenital heart defects. Yeah, I mean, you want to pick something that is dear to you or connected to you, right? So those things are obviously things that have been recently connected to me. Luck is like fate. It can only take you so far. The rest is up to you. Absolutely, Petty Betty. I do food sharing. It's crazy how much food is produced to be tossed away. That's absolute. Yeah, I agree. Wow, this is overdue. I'm at 3 hours right now. I'm getting a little parched here. And I believe Deputy 547's in a parking lot somewhere, maybe? You're in your car? We definitely have to reconnect, man. Because, yeah, I'm looking to reconnect with some people when I get back stateside. And I want to have a little collaboration with some different groups. And I think we work good together. Seriously, let's talk sometimes. Yep, there you go. Take care, everyone. Much love. I think that's a good note to go on. Petty Betty, always a pleasure. Deputy 547, Kyle. Hope I answered your question, bro. I hope you're doing well, man. Chuckster, stay strong. Sabina, good to hear from you as always. Rob, keeping you. Mary Lee, thanks for chiming in. I agree with your statement about trauma doesn't define you. I don't think anything really defines us. I think we're a culmination of experiences. Until that biography is written, every chapter is a new chapter. I often tell about people in their breakup. I said, this is where the book gets really good. This is the chapter everyone goes, oh, what's going to happen next? All right, folks, it's curtains.